NUFC Early Night News with Gary DeJordy Yum Yum, Andrew Bokey, Christina Cage, and Derek the Mighty Wind. Weekdays from 8 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. USA. NUFC Talk.
Hey, hey! Are you there, Boogie? Never better. Top fellas, as I say. What could be better than a last minute win? Well, you never know if it's last minute when you're playing Man United, of course. But last minute winner against Man United, and what a winner it was. Unbelievable. Starts the move, finishes the move, and finishes with such aplomb. Absolutely buzzing. Well, I think it was as strong a team as you could have put out under the circumstances, bearing in mind that sorry, there we go. Just getting messages from the boss there.
We're not live on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't think we're live. I've just been looking for us.
We might still be live on radio, so while Wynn's looking into this, Tina,
Yes,
just in
let's
regards
do this
to
for the
the
radios.
Yep. So in regards to the Man United game, what did you think of the setup Eddie put out for us?
The setup, well, I mean, I was on the build-up show with the twins, Tim and Peter, and they were actually surprised at how optimistic I was when I saw the lineup. I was delighted. The only question I had was a lot of people had wanted Botman to come back. A lot of people thought Dan Burnett looked leggy the game beforehand against Everton. That was the only question mark that I had. The rest of the team, I mean, I said I wanted Ramsdale in goal. I was delighted with the back four setup. Centre midfield, I don't think we've got a better centre midfield that we can pick at the moment. And I wanted Alanga, Barnes, and Gordon. And I think that's what we actually picked the night before with chat. That was kind of how we'd set that up. And you, me, and Wayne all picked the last three for the forward line, and that's exactly what we said. So I was. I mean, you know me. I'm always a little bit optimistic. Some would say a little bit too optimistic at times. But yeah, I was absolutely buzzing with the lineup, and I was excited for the game. What did you think of the lineup? Were you happy with it?
Yeah, I think it was probably the best lineup we could put out there. There was talk before the game between me and Michael and Chris whether Botman should be playing, but I think the thought with that was, firstly, he's just back from injury. We know how injury prone he is. So in regards to this, would it have been wise to put him on or not? Is I suppose one of the questions. And the other one was obviously playing Gordon as the striker up front. And was that the correct decision? I think we're all now on YouTube Live, so welcome everybody. Welcome
Hello,
to
YouTubers.
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Talk, the early night show with me, Bokey, the Mighty Win, and Toon Tina. How are you guys? Sorry, before we get started, can I just ask you to whack the like button, subscribe if you're new around here, and if you can, please become a member for a small monthly fee. We love your chats and we'll try to read out as many as possible. However, the only way we can guarantee the chat to be read is to make it a super chat. Please remember, we're live on DAB radio across the Newcastle areas now. So, Win, what was your thought on the setup?
Yeah, well, I was, like I say, I was pleased because you know my views. I say go with your strongest team, especially when you've got a game like Man United, which for all they've been in the doldrums of late, they seem to have pulled themselves out of that slump. They were coming into the game 5 wins out of 6. We were coming into the game 5 losses out of 6. So again, as I said the night before, typical Newcastle, whenever it is that we're written off, that's when we'll produce a performance. And we did it again. Now, is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? I'm not so sure that it's a good thing. If we need to be up for it, against the big teams, why can we not produce that performance against the lesser teams? And I use the word lesser in inverted commas, of course, because that's the problem. I think it's in much the same way as our fans expect us to beat the Evertons and the Brentfords of this world. As I keep on saying, that ain't no easy games in the Prem. As Forest third bottom last night, get a draw against Man City. Wolves rock bottom, beat Liverpool. There's no such thing as an easy game in the Prem. So,
speaking of easy games in the Prem, and I hate to do this to you, Borky, especially at the start of this show, and how civil you've been over the past 2 days, but the last few times that Newcastle have won, the last few victories that we got, when I was getting really happy and I was doing little cartwheels, you snatched away from me like a child, like taking candy from a baby, and put negatives on it by mentioning, well, Tottenham are a bottom team, Aston Villa had a player sent off. What about last night,
Carabag or a
Borky?
pub team?
Carabag or pub team? You've got to admit, last night we were the ones down to 10 players. And we were up against an informed team who were third in the league, who everybody thought was going to turn us over. Surely you can't take this one away from me, Boki.
What's this? Beat up Borky night. In regards to that.
Every night's beat up Boki night for me.
I do have a few questions about the game, though. So the first one to you guys, I'm not going to burst anybody's bubble tonight.
Oh, I wish I'd stayed quiet now.
In regards to the first sort of question is, how did we play so well with 10 men when we've struggled? We'll take this just to Premier League games, when we've struggled so much in Premier League games with 11 men. I mean, we played that second half, and if you were guessing which team had 10 men, I think most people would have said Man United.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
But how many times do we see that? I mean, we've seen it with Newcastle once already this season against Liverpool. We're getting beat 2-0 with 11 men, go down to 10 and come back and arguably could have won it, ended up losing it as it happens in the last minute to a teenager who's, by the way, who's never been seen again since. Never been seen. All this nonsense about other managers using their youth players and all this. He's never been seen since. I think he's had about 20 minutes since he scored that winner. So that's a load of nonsense as well, by the way. But one of the questions I asked last night, and would I have been adverse to seeing it last night? I don't know. Was Shahar to come on instead of Trips? Trips plays again and has arguably his best game of the season.
I was about to say, was that possibly his best game for us?
Yeah.
Well, when I said I'm not going to be negative, Trips wasn't great defensively in the first half.
I disagree.
He got beat a few times with people going past him.
I disagree. I
thought
strongly
you had-
disagree. The man won balls
watched-
in the air that people twice his size couldn't win. I mean, the Trippier was fantastic. And no, to be fair, he had a rocky first like 15 minutes maybe. I'll give you that. He looked, a little bit like the Trippier that we've all came to kind of accept for the first 15 minutes, but from there onwards, I think he was an absolute rock at the back. And I think Trippier was faultless for the rest of the game.
I thought in the first 20 minutes, the only time he looked like he was going to get caught out was when he'd gone over the halfway line and we gave the ball away, and they came away. But on one of those occasions, he still got back. Now, albeit Cunha got round him, but he had slowed. It had to slow. Instead of being on a massive quick run down the wing, Trippier slowed him down sufficiently for the rest of the defence to get back into position. So even though he ended up getting beat, by that time we'd regrouped and had set up.
I mean, I'm not saying Trippier had a bad game, but I'm saying he wasn't great in the first half. He was the weak link on letting people through on that side of the pitch. He was great going forward, don't get us wrong. The only thing I would say, he seems to not wanted to put the cross in himself a couple of times. He played the ball to Wilanga to do it. Did you guys see that when he could have whipped the ball in a lot earlier?
I think he's maybe been given instructions to try getting the ball to Wilanga more, because my criticism of the last few games has been that instead of feeding Wilanga the way he used to feed Almiron and feed Murphy, he's been neglecting that option, shall we say, because of how badly Elanga's been done with it, to be fair, and instead choosing to pass it inside, normally to Tonali, who always, when Cripps gets the ball, Tonali invariably comes across to take it from him, or to give him the option anyway. And I think last night he tried to feed Elanga more, and I think that might be down to instructions.
And what did you think, Tina? Did you have the same feelings, or?
I mean, to be honest, I mean, I hadn't really noticed that Trippier wasn't putting many balls in the box. It didn't look like the type of game that was set up for that. I was happy with the way that he was playing. I think, Wynn has mentioned, actually, to be fair, a few times that one of the differences between Elanga versus other players we've had on the right has been that Trippier has seemed reluctant to trust him with the ball. And last night, I think we saw that differently. And I'm not sure if that's what maybe made Trippier look a bit better, because instead of, putting balls into the box that are then just getting headed away or, or getting dealt with by defenders, he's pushed us forward by keeping the ball. And I mean, he was part of what we did last night, which was, I mean, let's not understate the fact that we were playing like an absolute prime Barcelona, prime Real Madrid. I mean, that was tiki-taka to the absolute max. We looked, honestly, if we had played like that every game of the season this season, I would be even more convinced that we were winning everything this season. But no, it didn't stand out to me that Trippier hadn't been putting crosses in until you mentioned there, Borky, to be completely honest. Was I with a super chat, though?
Yeah, but look what he's saying. I think Newcastle like the look that they're doing things, but actually have no ideas and are way behind Brighton, Man City, and Brentford in terms of potential. Whoa, was I?
Do you know what? Was I got a point? I mean, I wasn't going to go down this route, but as was putting super chat
gone
in,
down in my estimation
point,
with that comment.
We're gonna have to. It is a point in that, because we haven't got the youth team behind. With Brighton, obviously, have young players coming through, or buy the right players to sell on. Man City, and Brentford again have younger players coming through. Is their model better than our model at the minute?
In terms of the overall club setup, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think you've got a valid point to a degree, except that our, as I've said ad infinitum, our youth setup is light years behind. Our academy is light years behind some of the better academies,
better teams.
And
what's your thoughts? I don't
want
to jump too far into this, but what's your thoughts?
Wynn hasn't finished. Let Wynn finish.
Go on then.
I'm saying
Go on, finish your point, Wynn.
Just footballer factories is what they've got. Not that virtually none of them ever come through their own first teams. They get sold on to somebody else. That is the actual model these days.
What's
So
your thoughts,
anyway,
Tina?
go on, Tina.
Fucking determined to get the point off with. I mean, look, I think we've known. I mean, we've done a full show on on the development of the youth setup at our team. And it's kind of weird because if you look at some of the young players who have set the world alight this season, Elliot Anderson would be in that list. He came through our youth setup, and then you'd probably have to say, although he's fallen out of favour to be fair, but every time I've seen him play, I've still been excited by Minte, and he was another player that we brought in. We've brought in Cadero. There's been a lot of players who we've signed for that youth setup, which has shown that we do have ideas and potentially we've got the willingness to build some young players. I think something that people are overlooking though is that our first choice fullbacks are both under the age of 23. Sandro Tonali, is he even 25 yet? I'm
No,
pretty
no.
sure he's still no, exactly. So he's still a young player, and I've got 7 words for you, which are Osula, who's also very young. Let's not forget. I mean, I don't see where people are getting this idea. Like, people talk about us like we're like a retirement home team. I mean, we've got young Nick Waltamara, he's young. Anthony Gordon's young. Malik Chow is young. Sven Botman's still young. It's fair to say that these players aren't in a position where you would be looking to replace them with youth yet, because they're not even old themselves. So, although I
No.
do agree that we've all said we need to work on the nurturing these youth players that we're bringing in, and we know that we need some sort of investment at an academy level. I would definitely disagree with what in regards to that.
I think in regards to the players' age you went through, you've went through with young players, but if you do look across the squad, we do have quite an aging squad. Nick
I think
Nick,
that we've got the third oldest squad
yeah,
in the Prem. But that's because we've got the likes included in that squad who get regular games is Trippier, Share, not Share now, obviously because he's injured, but it was Share, Byrne, Pope, who were all well into their 30s.
yeah, and
And
even Joe Lynn, J7
J7 and Bruno are getting that way, they're not
and
30 yet. But
Murphy's
and
in his
Murphy as
30s
well,
as
yeah.
well, isn't he? Yep. So
Yeah.
we do have. I think we all know we've got a rebuilding
Yeah,
thing
but
to do
if
this
you
summer.
substitute Botman and Share for, Botman and Chow for Share and Byrne, all of a sudden your average age drops by 6 years.
Oh, has my maths done me over again? Because
Well, it's 9 if you include Osula.
Darn it. Thank you for the super chat. Also, for keeping an eye on my mathematics, which has once again let me down on live radio across the entire Northeast. So, yeah, that's great. It's a good thing we're not on YouTube so everybody can see who's saying all this stuff. What was that?
Oh, yes, we are.
What do you mean we are on YouTube? What? I didn't know. No. But can just pulling back on that? Because I'm not sure if we're going to get to like what I've thought of each player. But can we just give a specific shout out to one of these players that you've said is getting into that age bracket? We mentioned them in the show that you did, like the Borky hosted fantastically on Monday about players who are reaching a certain age, and Joe Linton was mentioned. Joe Linton last night was once again showing why at the start of this season people were saying he was part of the best 3 midfield in the Premier League. He was absolutely phenomenal. He was pressing all over the pitch. He was absolutely terrorising Manchester United when they were on the ball. He was creating chances. He was energetic the whole game. There was one part, I think it was in the first half, where he kind of just dropped his shoulder. He took 2 Manchester United players completely out of the game with one touch. I mean, honestly, I went back and watched that about 3 times, just that clip. I was trying to remember which way we were kicking at the time. But my goodness, since he's came back from this latest injury, he has been every bit the Brazilian wonder man that we've been missing this season.
My only
I
slight
agree.
worry with J7 moving forward is that he is 30 this year, isn't he? He does turn 30 this year. And in regards to that, he's going to start losing his speed. Not that he had massive pace
Well, I
anyway,
was going to
but it
say,
is, it is, it is, no, no, but it is going to begin to go. And the amount of fouls that he makes at the speed he's at the minute can only increase on that. So I would have worries about whether he's going to be on the pitch. Because I mean, we saw last night he's quite petulant at times. I mean, Tonali literally had to grab him by the neck and drag him away from potentially getting a red card just for shouting at the referee.
just
Captain
I
behaviour,
mean,
by the way.
he was clapping the referee, that asking for trouble. To be fair,
We know what we're going to get with Joe Linton, though, don't I mean, even I've been guilty this season of when people are like, so what do you say in Joe Linton? And I'll make the little meme joke of, well, he'll just come on and chin somebody. Like, it's we know that we're getting a hothead with Joe Linton. We absolutely know that. But I prefer that we have Joe Linton on our team than to play against Joe Linton. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of fans who feel the same. And I absolutely love everything about him. I love his hotheadedness. You've said many times yourself, Borky, that what you think Newcastle need is a maverick, somebody who's a little bit out of control. You name me one player who's more out of control than a man who has to be literally grabbed by the scruff of his neck by Sandro Tonali to stop him from getting sent off.
I
I'll
think the
give
match
you
winner.
one.
I think the
William
match winner
Osula.
I was going to say the match winner last night, but we'll get on to him in a second. So just quickly moving
Please,
on.
let's
Obviously,
do.
we'll go through the match facts now. Then, so we'll go through the major incidents in regards to the red card for Ramsey. I think that was the first major talking point for me. No way red card. You guys.
For a start, nobody seems to be mentioning the fact that the keeper touched his leg,
He did.
got his back foot.
There is contact.
It's not a fact. People are saying he accidentally tripped himself up. No, the keeper got a hand to his leg. It was a penalty for me. Not that he appealed for the penalty, by the way, but
I
there
was
was
just
definitely a touch on his foot.
I think that's the point, isn't it, Tina? If he, went down and then been, putting his arms up, demanding a penalty, then maybe you could understand the referee making that decision. But there was absolutely no appeal, was there?
And by the way, there should have been 3 yellow cards to the Man United players, who then surrounded the referee, and albeit they didn't actually hold their hands up showing cards, they were screaming, that should be a yellow card for simulation if you're not given a penalty.
I meant
And
Tina with long hair.
it took about 15, 20 seconds for Banks to go and give him a yellow card, which obviously was the second yellow card for simulation. The first one was the one he took for the team. It was a proper yellow card, deliberate foul. But that was just a joke. And again, the problem there is that with it being a second yellow, VAR can't look at it.
Tina, what were your thoughts?
I mean, pretty much, repeating what Wynn said. I mean, there was definitely contact. If you watch the actual incident, the goalkeeper Lemons, he does touch Ramsey's back foot, which is the foot that goes out a bit, and then Ramsey falls down. I think Ramsey himself thought that he'd lost his foot, and he was even telling Bruno Fernandes, I fell over. What he is talking about. If he had then, appealed for the penalty, you can say, okay, that's showing a little bit of dissent. Then you can justify the yellow card. There was no justification for that yellow card. The fact that the Manchester United players acted the way they did at that incident was disgusting. I was very happy that Don Tonali, when it came to Gordon absolutely destroying Manchester United, after winning possession, taking on 2 of their players, and then winning a penalty, went up the penalty and was like, give that, or I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse, and got us that penalty. Because, and I felt sorry for Bruno Fernandes this past couple of years, because I really rated him as a player, and I thought the reason that he looked a bit like a petulant child was because he was being played out of position and Manchester United were playing badly. But and players like Casemiro as well, the great player for Real Madrid, and then he's came into a Manchester side, and I felt bad for them. And then he's there doing the 6-7 in front of our fans, Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes, running his mouth the whole game, trying to get people booked, trying to influence the referee. And I'll tell you what, they went down in my estimation when they did that. And I'll tell you, and you can tell them if they're listening on live radio.
It went down in my
love it.
estimation.
I love it that we beat them last night. Love it.
Yeah, great result, wasn't it? Just on the red card, the yellow and red card. It's been reported today that Newcastle can appeal it. I didn't think you could appeal to yellow cards.
Yeah,
but if
the
you
fact
can, would you?
Absolutely. Well, as you say, it's been reported that they have, I think.
Yeah,
you've got to. I mean, there was no need for that yellow card. It was appalling. The fact that VAR watched that, they didn't manage to catch the fact that Mbeumo died.
No. But the point is that VAR couldn't look at it.
No,
because
did
it was
they not
yellow.
Look at the foul?
No, because it was.
I thought they had. My apologies.
No, they're not allowed to because it was just a yellow card, not a red card. It was just the fact that it was the second yellow. So VAR don't get a look at it.
My worry with that was that I thought they had looked at it for a penalty. I don't know if they did or they didn't. It wasn't clear on the telly. But if they did, then the referee waited till after VAR had looked at it before he booked them again. I think that's maybe why there was the delay on the yellow card. And that's not the way it should happen.
That's why I thought VAR had been involved.
Yeah, if it had been, it should have been a yellow card straight away. And then VAR look at the incident again, and then they can overturn the fact that it's a penalty or not, but they can't overturn. They've never been able to overturn the yellow card.
Right. Well, in which case, I could be doing so could thousands of fans be doing banks a disservice, because if maybe VAR, maybe Banks thought it was a dive, but he'd got a message saying VAR looking possible penalty, and then he's getting surrounded whilst he's waiting for communication from Stockley Park to say, right, we've checked, it's not a penalty, even though I think it should have been. We've checked, it's not a penalty, so he's so right, well, if it's not a penalty, it's a dive.
But that's wrong, Win. That's the wrong decision, in which case the decision the referee should make is to say no penalty, book the player and send him off, then let it go to VAR.
And then get that over to get
then that would get the
yeah.
penalty decision, and that would get the yellow card rescinded.
Yeah,
that's the way it should have been done correctly. Is that the referee makes the on-field decision to send Ramsey off, and the only reason that's overturned is if the penalty's given.
Right. But then, so then let's assume the penalty isn't given.
The yellow card stands and he's off.
Then the yellow card stands and he's off.
Yeah.
So it's a no-win situation either way, isn't it?
It is for there is a win for Newcastle. If it is a penalty, then they get it. There's never going to be a win with the yellow card, though. You're quite right there. That's always going to be. It's going to stand unless you get the penalty.
Well, so what I'm saying is, because it was a second yellow, VAR should be able to look at that and decide whether or not it was simulation. And the point I was making at the start was that they're not allowed to do that.
No, they're not.
From next season they can. They've changed the rules now, and from next season they can look at second yellows. But last night they couldn't, unless they were looking at it from, was it a penalty point of view, which I think, needless to say, there would have been or there should have been.
Yeah. So moving on
I think we'll win that appeal.
Sorry. Hopefully.
I was just going to say, I think we'll win that appeal.
We could do with them. Moving on to the goal, then the actual penalty that was a penalty. Do you both agree it was a penalty? I mean, it was a little bit soft, but it was a penalty.
That was a penalty all day long.
100%. 100% a penalty. And I mean,
and yet another penalty that he won himself. Everybody goes on about him taking penalties, but he won that penalty himself. He won the last one himself. He won the one before himself.
Well, not only did he win it himself, but he won the ball himself in our own half.
Yeah.
Before that penalty came, and this was just after we'd had a player sent off teams could let their heads drop. And we've talked about whether Anthony Gordon's got his head in the right place this season. And he wins the ball, slowly dribbles away, changes his pace, takes on a Manchester United player, takes on a second, cuts back inside. Absolutely, there's knee-to-knee contact, and that was a 100% penalty. But the record will show that he's then not scored a goal in open play last night. But you need to look at things in context, because if not for what he did in open play, that penalty never could. To be fair, it was probably his worst penalties taken from us. But what he did to win that penalty was some of the best stuff I've seen from Gordon for a while.
I was going to say, if the keeper's foot was one size bigger, he'd probably have had it, wouldn't he? It wasn't. It was a bit of a heart and mouth sort of penalty. But does that show that he's got a bit of confidence taking them, that he will do things like that? He'll fire them straight down the middle.
I mean,
You
there's
like
a
to see
shout
that win?
that maybe
Well, if you think of his last 3 penalties, one right, one left, one straight down the middle. No, you could argue if you're the next keeper that faces him, you're going to say, right, well, he go right again this time. But will he?
Tina, do you like to see that little bit of, I don't know what it is, confidence when you're taking a penalty of firing it straight down the middle?
I love a bit of confidence in a penalty. I love a bit of confidence in a player. I think it goes a long way. I think you can go a long way with confidence in any situation in life. Is there an argument that Gordon sent the keeper to his left and then put it down the middle, rather than he's just walked up and hit it down the centre? There might be an argument with the way that he shaped his body, that the goalkeepers looked at him and thought, oh, he's definitely playing it this way, dived, and then it's obviously went straight down the middle. So yeah, I love a bit of confidence. I think some players, we've seen it go wrong for players who don't have the quality. And for goalkeeper, he's never doubted it. He didn't even look like he was surprised that he'd scored it even after it went in.
No, it was obviously a deliberate act that he did to do that, and I don't mind it. As long as the penalty goes in, I don't care where they kick the ball, to be perfectly honest, as long as it ends up a goal. In regards to then moving on to Man United's goal with Hall, what did you guys think? Sorry, with Hall's defending on that, what did you think? Was it down to Hall, or was it down to the keeper or the centre backs? What was your thoughts on that goal?
Well, I think he was definitely Hall's man. If you look at the way it plays out, but it was just typical of the way we've been marking set pieces lately. Not good enough. We're getting much better with our own set pieces, but as far as defending them's concerned, I don't know how many goals that is we've conceded now from set pieces in the last few, half dozen games. Probably five goals or something off the top of my head. But what's more to the point there was that was in the 9th minute of extra time in the first half, when the board went up with 3 minutes on. Now, okay, that was the time taken for the sending off, and then the time taken for the penalty. But that was nowhere near 6 minutes. So why was that? Just because they happened to be on the attack and had a set piece? He should have just when it was a free kick, the whistle should have gone then. But this gets back to my old chestnut 60-minute stop clock. Let's do away with all of this guesswork as to how much time's to go and Fergie time and all that. Was that she's not going to be in to see it? Was that Tina? What on earth are you putting in your gob, girl? She's having a few technical problems there. She'll be back in a second, was.
So with that win, with the defender for free kicks and things, we've been quite good at that in the past. Why do you think there's the issues with it this season? Why do you think that's crept in?
I think the fact that Cher's not there doesn't help.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think Cher was always good at defending, as well as attacking set pieces, of course. But I don't know. That's what the set piece coach is brought in for, and maybe are they concentrating too much on attacking set pieces instead of defensive ones? Certainly, the way we've been looking this season, that would make sense because it's scoring goals that we've been having the problems with by and large. Although lately it's been conceding goals as well, of course. I don't know, but it's certainly someone that wants a lot of it. And again, they're not getting the time on the pitch now. But
I understand that, but set pieces are quite uniformed. I mean, you should know as a defender, you should know how to defend a set piece. And I know we can use the players getting like, especially having to play the over 30s in the defence. We can use that when we're conceding an open play. But from set pieces, I don't really see an excuse for us conceding from
I
set
agree.
pieces with the players we've got.
Especially when it's not a fancy set piece. You know, if it's a
Yeah.
fancy set piece, you can kind of. But when it's a straight cross into the middle, there should be a setup to counteract it. You know.
And I know you're going to agree with us on this point, Win, but do you think it's because we've got too many players in the box potentially? We've got everybody back defending at times. Why don't we leave a couple up front?
Well, that's how many times have I said the same thing? You know, just leave if we leave Alanga and Gordon up the pitch, for example, yesterday, they've got to have 4 players back to cover them. They can't just leave 2 back 1-on-1 against either of them because they're going to get murdered. So they would have to have 4 back, and that takes 4 less out the box. I couldn't agree with you more, but nobody does it. I've got no idea why.
No, Van. It frustrates you as well because you think, potentially, especially when you've got likes of Alanga on the pitch or Osula. You've seen how fast Osula was when he was running forward.
Yeah.
You've got that option of, as soon as you ping it over the top, and because teams aren't used to doing that, a lot of defenders would struggle having a player just running at them with raw pace at that point. Tina, we're just discussing the Man United goal. What were your thoughts on it? Should it have been defended better, or was it just one of those things?
I mean, it was it first of all shouldn't have been a free kick. I don't see how that was given as a free kick. There was no contact whatsoever from what I've seen. And then it was a nice crossing, and it was near post. I don't think Ramsdale could have really done much better with it than he did. And it was oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I don't think we can really say anything bad about the defense in regards to the goal. I mean, you're not really going to set up more of a wall from that position, and yeah, it was near post, good header, pretty good goal.
No, I disagree that it was a pretty good goal. I thought it was a poor goal to let in.
It was
I mean,
defendable goal, I would say.
it was a good header, and it caught the keeper running across to the left, and it went. Ramsdale nearly got a hand on it, and I mean, if you're going to put in a ball,
I'm
like
not blaming Ramsdale for that one.
No, I wasn't thinking that you were. I just think that it, I mean, what is it? Because I apologize, I had to take a second there. Was there? Have you mentioned why you think it could have been better defended, or how it could have been better defended?
We're just disappointed that it's gone in from a. Sorry, we're just disappointed that it's been a dead ball situation that, we should be defending better against. We should have had a defensive line in a shape that should have been able to handle that. And in the past, we've always been able to do that. We're just asking why has it changed this season that we are conceding more from set pieces?
Well, I mean, is there an argument with it being like one of their midfielders who's got to that header, that maybe that would have been the player that Ramsey might have been supposed to be watching, and the fact that we've had one player less is why we've got overrun in that situation?
Well, I think if you look at the play, it was Hall who was kind of his marker. The way the setup worked, and Hall didn't get back in time. If you're going to point fingers, like I say,
but anyway,
I think it's your man that's missing from from defending crosses.
Fabian Schär.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, if Schär was on that pitch, would have won 5-0, and Manchester United wouldn't have had a sniff. So, and I think we all know that. I think everybody agrees. Yeah, I'm not going to ask you because I know you agree.
Just to move on from that, then, but obviously we won't linger too much on their goal. We want to concentrate on Newcastle. Going to the goalkeeper and the couple of saves he pulled off in the second half. Firstly, did you agree they were a couple of great saves? And would you be confident that Pope would have pulled those saves off?
Well, the conventional belief is that Pope is a better shot stopper than Ramsdale, and Ramsdale's better with his distribution and with his feet. And the one thing I'm pretty certain of yesterday, you can argue whether Pope would have saved those or not. But what I'm pretty certain is, with Ramsdale in goal, we were a lot better and a lot more confident when we went down to 10 men. Because I don't know if you remember, but they were involving Ramsdale a hell of a lot at the back when we were not under the cosh exactly, but when we were on the defensive and got the ball, they weren't at all reluctant just to pass it to Ramsdale for him to do something with. Whereas, if they'd done the same with Pope, it would have been a wild kick, probably straight back, 9 times out of 10, straight back to them, and then we're back under the cosh again. And that didn't happen yesterday. And I think that was a major factor when we went down to 10 men, that we were starting our build-ups, 10, 15 yards further up the pitch, because Ramsdale was in goal. He was out of his box loads and loads of times, picking up balls. And albeit he might have just been squaring it to Dan Burn or giving it to Trips, but we weren't just hoofing it up the park to a red shirt.
And what was your thoughts, Dina, with Ramsdale's performance?
I mean, I gave a lot of plaudits to the enemy, shall we say, with Jordan Pickford's fantastic save against us in the Everton game, and I think I've got to give that same level of respect to what Ramsdale did. As Wynne said, the confidence that he gives you at the back, to not just hoof the ball, as far up the pitch as you can, and to have a bit of composure. I think that almost made up for the fact that we had a player less. Like, he kind of filled in as an extra outfield player that we wouldn't have otherwise had. The saves, these one-off Xerxes, I mean, that was top draw. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what the science was behind Xerxes' shot. I can't really understand how that went in the trajectory that it did. But yeah, I mean, Ramsdale kept us in that game, and without Ramsdale, I mean, there was shouts last night from the panel, and I kind of agree. There's a chance that you could say he was man of the match for us, because without his performance, we don't even have the chance to then go up and steal that game. I say a steal, I mean, we dominated, to be fair, but
Well, for me, it was one of those games where there were so many good performances that it was hard to pick a man of the match. I'll tell you who wasn't
agree.
man of the match. Bruno, who got it. That was just a joke. That the
Bruno
TNT.
Guimaraes.
No.
Oh, Bruno
Bruno
Fernandes.
Fer-
But I was like, when have you gone wild? I was like, yeah, well,
No. Timo Bruno.
Timo Bruno. Yeah, like I say, I think he was dreadful last night. The only thing he did better than anybody else was complain at the referee. And I don't know if that's a skill. Maybe it's the fact that he managed to do that without getting booked or warned
Well,
for
he
it.
was the TNT man of the match. It was baffling to me.
So do we now think, moving forward for the rest of the season, that Ramsdale deserves the chance in goal? Is he our first choice now?
Absolutely.
I would say
Yeah.
so, yes.
Until he proves that he's not.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the subs Eddie made. They did have an impact on the game. I don't think anybody can deny that. Was there any subs you think that he made were strange or a bit baffling, or do you think he mainly got them right in that game?
Well, you can argue that the result and the outcome proves he got them right, but of course they were, to a large degree, forced because of the sending off. So they wouldn't necessarily have been the same changes had we still had 11 men, so we'll never know that. But all we can say is that with 10 men, you know, we stayed comfortably in the game. You know, it wasn't like we were under the cosh for any, you know, large degree of time at all, which it would have been quite possible. In fact, quite a few punters were saying, watching the match, anybody who didn't know, looking at the game, would have said, which team is it's got the 10 men again? Because we were still playing some lovely football.
And then we'll move on to obviously the do you want to do that one first there, Win?
Tina,
I am simply dippy about the look.
About the look. Wearing a Jaguars top and my Newcastle jacket. My lucky Newcastle jacket that I'm going to be wearing for every game now, by the way, after that performance yesterday. But thank you very much for the super chat, was that?
You're a superstar, was I? So just moving on to obviously the small matter of the goal that Elanga scored.
Sorry, I'll not have a say on that. So
or even Osula.
Oh, go on, if you go for it, Tina.
No, because the only thing that I was going to say was that I was actually a little bit baffled by the fact that we took off one of the forward line to put on another midfielder. And I understand it now in hindsight. But at the time, to me, it made sense to have the two centre midfielders and just keep that attacking line, because I had a feeling we weren't going to just sit back and defend. But yeah, I mean, I was proven wrong by Eddie Howe. He got it right and I got it wrong. But yeah, moving on now.
So moving on, obviously the Elanga goal, was it world-class footballer, you know, winning the ball back in his own half on the 22-yard line, then sprinting forward, keeping his balance magnificently, getting into the box and smashing in an absolutely world-class finish?
Let's not forget the two-step
overs. No, let us just finish. Or was it a headless chicken who just ran and got there in the end, sort of thing? What are your thoughts? Was it brilliant or was it lucky?
I do not think it's fair to say it was lucky, especially by the way, in the light of the press conference when Eddie said that after training the day before, he'd stayed back and done 10 of those from exactly this from the wing, cutting in, shooting. He'd done 10 of those after training, and he scored 8 of them. So, as Gary Player used to famously say, it's funnier. The more I practice, the luckier I get. So I think to say it's lucky is a bit harsh, shall we say. But would I trust him to do it? Would I have confidence in him being able to do exactly the same thing again? Well, about as much confidence as I would have had in Miggy doing exactly that against Crystal Palace when he did. Almost an identical goal to that, which was during his purple patch, and that's, as we now know, that's what it was. It was a purple patch. But let's hope it's the start of Osula's purple patch. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. And I don't want to get it told off again. So, Tina, what did you think of the goal?
I didn't tell you off. I'm sorry. I think it was. I mean, I got memed on in the chat when I was watching the game because Osula came on and I was like, oh, that's it, hat trick coming up. And there was somebody in the chat was like, Christine, are you ever right with any prediction? And I mean, by that point we had kind of dug our heels in, we were kind of surviving, and then he's won the ball and he's taken it off their captain, who was man of the match apparently. Took it off their captain, knocked it to our captain, took off like a Ferrari down the right wing, caught up with a ball that he had no right to keep in, got absolutely memed on because he nearly fell over, and then he's probably had a thought. He's had an angel on one shoulder who said, Will, we can get some good respect from the fans here. Let's just run this into the corner and let's see out the game. And there's a little demon appeared on his other shoulder. And he was like, no, go on, prime Ronaldo it. Just take them on, do 2 step overs, take on 2 Manchester United players and curl it in the far side. And I think we saw which one of those 2 voices won out, because he absolutely, I mean, the step overs were absolutely fantastic. And especially after losing his balance, you would think, oh, is that going to affect his confidence? Absolutely not. This man was determined. And as you mentioned, Eddie Howe said after the game that he had been practicing exactly that. And practice makes perfect. I mean, goodness me. And his celebration, I'm not sure if he was pointing and saying, I belong here or something like that. But my goodness, if give him the number 9
You've
shirt,
brought
give
it
him a new
all
contract.
back, Tina. You've brought it all back.
I mean, it was it was a thing of beauty, wasn't it? It was actually a thing of beauty. I mean, wow.
Tom and Jerry with the devil and the angel.
The funny thing was that at that point, Michael was doing the commentary and Chris was going, "Oh, it's like they were both going, oh, it's a headless chicken running down the window." I was thinking, I didn't really say anything, and then he got towards the box. I was thinking, he's going to score here. He could score here, and he cut it, and he obviously scored the goal. I was like, Jesus Christ! The elation. I mean, as you said, when the crowd, I've never seen the crowd go up like that for a long time.
Long time.
Yeah, but it's
I think maybe the winner against West Ham last season. It was kind of the same, but probably not. It was just because it's Man U, of course. That always helps.
Can I point out as well, I did actually make it for me that Chris and Michael were literally, and Borky were all just kind of laughing as he caught up with it. They were like, oh, here we go, Captain Chaos, what's he going to do? He's running like a headless chicken. Oh, he's nearly fell over. And then you can literally see the moment where Borky just gets the thought in his head of, he's going to do something here. You can actually see it like come over like a wave. And it's like he's the first one to realise he's going to score. And then he only goes and does it. I mean,
the finish was fantastic. I mean, I don't want to over-egg it, but sort of Thierry Henry sort of finish.
Milk it.
Thierry
Henry sort of finish, just whipping it round Maguire like that it's a hell of a skill to do that. It looks like it's a quite easy shot. It's not. You try doing that, and 99 times out of 100, it'll end up anywhere else but the goal. So absolutely magnificent for me.
It was so good. Even their left back turned around and watched it go in. He was that impressed. And then when it went in, he went down to his knees and he was like, "What a goal!" I'm pretty sure that's what he was thinking.
Getting it back to a little bit more serious now in regards to the game. Is it a worry that Elanga came on the pitch and with £55 million striker that was signed in the summer stayed on the bench? Was that a bit of a worry?
Like I say, I still think, and he's obviously not doing it in training, even though I had those comments when he came back. I don't know if you can remember when he came back from the injury that he got playing for Congo. There was a quote attributed to the dressing room that apparently 2 players had said, "My God, this player's lightning." One was incredible and one was lightning. And we thought, right, he's back. And then I don't know if you remember, it was when I did the stadium tour, and we got they let us into the dressing room unusually on a day before the match, and one of the shirts was hanging up back to front. In other words, you could see the front of the shirt, not the back, and I had a peep, and it was Wissa. So we did. I gave the exclusive on the on the show the night before, saying, "Listen, Wissa is definitely in the squad," and it was. So that was about the time it was. Now he came in, and he hasn't. There's no ifs or buts about it. He has not lit the place up. And neither has Elanga. Ramsey, it can be argued, has just begun to fulfill his potential. What was I saying? He wouldn't have got it round his head, round his head, though. I'm not sure what you're on about.
I think
Gary.
it means Maguire. He got it round his body, but he would never go around but Maguire's head.
Square head.
That's what I'm guessing he means.
SpongeBob SquarePants. Yeah. He off the big head. Yeah, he wouldn't have got round. He got it round his body, but he wouldn't have got it round his head. Aye. Spot on what that cheers, mate. Where were we before we were so happily interrupted?
I think we're just firstly, I was just going to say it's just to give everybody an update on the night.
Whistle, that was. Yeah, go on.
It's Spurs are 3-1 down. They
3-1
were 1-0
down.
up.
This
They
is-
were 1-0 up.
Spursy.
I mean, this was after Palace going ahead, goal disallowed, Spurs go ahead, and now Palace has scored 3 at White Hart Lane.
Just who we are, mate. Just who we
Yeah.
are.
It's just who we are,
Here
mate.
we are.
So you've got to
you know
stare
what?
down, haven't you? Just who we are, mate. Just who we are.
Did you have worries last night, Tina, that in regards to the Newcastle game, we had Wissa and Osula on the bench, a £55 million Premier League proven striker, and Eddie still made the decision to put us. I mean, it was a right decision, obviously.
It's just who we are. It's who
Chose
we're
to
going
put
to be
him.
till, as long as I'm here.
Still chose to put
It's just who we are, mate. It's just
Elanga
who
on
we
in
are.
front of
It's
him.
who we're going to be till as long as I'm here.
Osula, sorry, on in front of him.
I mean, it depends on the perspective that you're asking that question from. If you're asking for it from a perspective of, is it worrying for Wissa? Then yeah. I mean,
I know some Wissa basically. Is Wissa going to prove to be a good enough player, or have we bought a dud? I suppose it's the other way of putting the question.
Well, we didn't buy a dud. We bought a player who looked really, really good, who looked really, really fast, and looked like he was going to be able to fill in the gap that we were having up front with us losing Wilson and Isaac. And he hasn't. It just hasn't worked out for him. I think from Wissa's perspective, maybe it's just going to give him a little bit of because you've got to remember as well, and I'll bring it back in. I know I've already said it. Eddie Howe in the press conference after the game said Will Osula had asked for 10 more balls after training. 10 more balls. That's what he asked for, and 8 out of 10 then were scored. And then he's went on against Manchester United, and he's scored the winning goal. Maybe that'll show, Wissa that, look, I mean, Osula's career looked like it was over at Newcastle for a while. People were memeing on him. People had lost faith in him, except for me. Well, except for me and Win, but that's why we get called Happy
No,
Clapper.
I had.
You had? Oh, well,
Yeah.
I mean, even Win, even Happy Clapper and Chief had given up on Osula. And I mean, look at what a little bit of hard work can do for you. So maybe Wissa's going to kind of pick up on that and start putting in a bit more effort. And I'm not saying he's not putting in effort. I'm just saying maybe it'll kind of inspire him to, keep up with that level of expectation. I think it was good to see Eddie not just go with the fact, okay, look, I've bought this player, I've given him the number 9 shirt, I've spent 55 million on him, I've got to prove that I'm right here. And instead he's put on Will Osula, who a lot of people thought not only Win had given up on, but Eddie had given up on. So the fact that he's made the right decision to put Osula on, and that's paid dividends from that perspective, it's a really positive thing. But hopefully Whistle turn this slight worry into a positive for himself and get a little bit of motivation from it.
Perfect. And before we move on to the Man City game, is Eddie Howe forgiven for everything now? Is he the best thing since sliced bread again, Christina?
I mean, I had never turned on Eddie Howe. I've always said whoever the manager of Newcastle United is, I'm going to support 100%. And I've been shocked. Let's be honest. I've been here, stood sometimes on my own shield, defending Eddie Howe when people have said, "Oh, he's a washed-up manager. He's came as far as we can." Again, I'm not naming any names, Borky, but I'm sure you know who I'm talking about, Borky. But I'll stand here and I'll defend Eddie Howe, and I say he's a good manager. And I've always known that the players are with him, and that he still had something to give to this team. Does last night make everything forgiven? I mean, the people who would turn on him are going to have to be the ones to answer that. But I will answer one question that you asked me and Win on Tuesday night. You said, which team is more united, Manchester on Newcastle. And 5 minutes before the end of that game, I was getting prepared to come on here with my chest puffed out, saying to you that even though we didn't pick up a win, we had done enough in that game to prove that we were the most united. And Eddie had shown enough that that team was going to fight for him. And thankfully, Will Osula supermaned it to the high heavens so I could come on here and say the exact same thing with the biggest smile on my face that you have probably ever seen. And I think Newcastle United and Eddie Howe, that the fans, everything last night showed that we are living by the name Newcastle United. So Eddie Howe is still 100% good in my books.
I don't think necessarily classing yourself as being more United than Man United's a great thing at this. Well, it's a good thing, but it's not a great thing at this point because Man United are in a poor position really as a club, aren't they? Win, your thoughts? Is everything gone with it?
They're in a poor position, third in the league.
No, I don't mean football wise. I mean just the way the club's being run and things like that. It's not a happy ship.
Carrick has definitely come in and turned, but that just shows you what 5 wins can do.
Just shows you what a new manager can do. But anyway,
but then again, it shows you that if you stick with your manager, when you go down to 10 men against the team that's third in the Premier League, you might just turn that around to not only winning the game, but dominating the game with 10 players, putting on a player everybody memed on, scoring an absolutely worldie, and having St. James's Park under the lights, like Wynne said, absolutely illuminated by just the sheer roar of the Geordie crowd.
Come on, guys, I'm being good tonight and trying not to be negative about anything, so...
I'm still getting you back for the other night, Walkie. There's 3 weeks that I've got to make up for here.
So, Wynne, is everything forgiven when we
get? Got a few.
Oh, go on then.
Chats, yeah. Tony T saying, I think we're overplaying Ramsdale's contribution. Of course, Tony's a great Pope defender. You know, I mean, he agrees with me in a lot of things in terms of, you know, Pope getting blamed for stuff that wasn't really his fault, especially in the Everton game. So he was on defend. He was on defending him then. So he was fine. Made I think he made 2 very good saves.
I think he made 3.
As I say, I think for me, Tony, the main thing was when we went down to 10 men, it was much better having him in goal than having Pope in goal in terms of what he can do with his feet. Lucky Singh, who's a Man U supporter. Hello, Lucky.
Hello, Lucky.
Kobe, Mano and Casemiro could not handle the pushing of Sandro Tonali and J7, who were very strong warriors.
And I'd just quickly say to Lucky Singh there, kudos to you, mate, for coming in here the night after a loss against your team and you know, being still willing to go in our chat. It's great having other fans from other clubs on the channel at times as well.
Indeed. Lee is saying, fun fact, goals from open play in the Prem in the last 13 months. Osula 3, Gordon 1. Not so much a fun fact, but it's an interesting fact.
It's a true fact.
Kim Cam saying another in the bogey camp, but he said it was a mix of excellent and brilliant performances. It was a joy, total commitment. Indeed, it was, and that went around the crowd. And by the way, the 90 minutes, there was 45,000 on and off throughout Eddie Howe's Black and White Army. So
hang on. They didn't just sit and sing Eddie Howe's Black and White Army. There was a lot of songs went round the ground.
No, but
no. I've just got to quickly pick up on this point. I've been good. I'm going to be a little bit different here. Whenever your team goes down to 10 men, you know for a fact that St. James's crowd's going to get behind you. So the fans would naturally have got behind the club no matter what.
They could have been singing any song.
We also need to put it into context of the booing.
They could have been singing any song they wanted.
We also have to put it into context against the booing, against the Everton game at the end, and there was considerable booing after that game. So, you know, let's keep it real. Let's keep it real.
And indeed there was, but they could have been singing any songs. They weren't. They were singing Eddie Howe's Black and White.
We talked earlier on about whether I think confidence in a penalty taker is good. Confidence is a very good trait. Allow me to tell you another good trait: resilience. And Eddie Howe showed resilience. Newcastle United showed resilience. They got potentially some boos around the arena, around the stadium arena. What am I talking about? Around the stadium after Everton, and then they came out and played as absolute warriors, but not just warriors. It's not like we just went out there and battled. We played like 90s Brazil in that game, up for 60 minutes with a player down, up against the diabolical refereeing decisions, up against Manchester United's dark arc tactics. And even with all of that, even with our backs against the ropes after what had happened with Everton and the crowd, we had it to where at the end of that game, the fans stayed around to sing the Osula song and to sing Eddie Howe's Black and White Army. So I think resilience is a good key point to make there as well.
Guys, you just haven't learned this season, have you? That don't
on
get too
the-
high after a win, don't get too low after a loss.
You haven't learned. I'm going to come in here absolutely singing the praises of this team regardless of what happens. You're never going to take my happy away from me.
On the subject of Osula, David Spencer's making the point, pure skill. He knew exactly what he was going to do because he'd been practicing with the coaching team.
And that's the weird thing there.
Here's the thing, though. You've just mentioned, Tina, about Man United and their dark arts. Hang on a minute. Did we see the dark arts coming back to Newcastle yesterday that have been missing for a long, long time? When Ramsdale went down and stayed down, did anybody see Pope warming up at all? Because I didn't. He was sat on the bench the whole time, and Ramsdale is in the box getting treatment, and there's 10 players around Eddie Howe on the halfway line getting instructions.
The two things I would... Sorry, go on.
Pope refused to get warmed up. He says, "I'm not going on. I should have started from the..." No, that's made up completely for him.
Everything you say is made up, folks. But if I could just touch on 2 points to that. One, it's okay. Our dark arts is cute and adorable, and it's good. Dark arts from Manchester, difference between those two things. Listen to the tone of my voice when I said those two things. Secondly, we talk about in-game management. Having 10 players around you at the end of the game and having your goalkeeper go down and somehow masterminding a victory. I mean, that's got to go down as a tick in the Eddie Howe in-game management column in my estimation.
Well, I don't think there's many ticks in the bad column yesterday, to be fair.
No,
I think
sometimes
there have been plenty in the past, but certainly not yesterday's performance.
Agreed.
I think sometimes when Eddie's hand's forced in games, he does make decisions or the right decisions. Sometimes when he's got free thought, that's where the problem is. It's a strange one, but that's just my opinion. So moving on to the band.
Well, no, and by the way, it could be a valid opinion because it could be very much like strikers. Well, you've got certain strikers who, when they've got time to think, what am I going to do, they mess it up, big style. But when it's got to be done quickly by instinct, they're absolutely lethal. Jose Perez was one of them. Miggy was one of them. Give Miggy time, he was useless. Make him have to make a decision, and he was more often than not lethal. So yeah, and that you could have a valid point.
So we'll move on to the Man City game anyway. Obviously, FA Cup on Saturday. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff, I believe, under the lights again at St James's Park with the blue side of Manchester. Tina, what are your thoughts on this game? What are you thinking going into that game?
Manchester United, Manchester City, any Manchester, bring them on. I think, on a serious note, we saw in the last game that by the end of the game, we kind of had them rattled a bit. I think Pep Guardiola admitted that he was happier to hear that final whistle than anybody else in the stadium. And, I mean, we've just came off a massive high. and to be fair, I mean, Manchester, you know what it is? We meme on Arsenal all the time about the bottling the title. Manchester City have kind of fallen off the boil a little bit over the last few games. And I would like to think that that's just because we've worn them down over the 5 times they've had to play against us this season. So I'm again, as sometimes misguidedly, but I'm again quietly confident that we can do something against Manchester City this weekend. I know they'll be looking for a bounce after their recent poor performance, but if we can just do what to be fair we've failed to do quite regularly this season so far, and take something from the fact that we've won a game, get our momentum going back in the right direction, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't advance into the next round.
Excellent. And Win, your thoughts on the Man City game?
I think Man City might have bigger fish to fry. They've got Real Madrid on Tuesday or Wednesday, one of the two. And with dropping those points now against Forest, if they want to, they've gone from having it in their own hands to having to win it again. So, if where are Pep's priorities going to be? Are they going to be on the FA Cup, or are they going to be on the Champions League and the Premiership? I would hope that his answer to that is Champions League and Premiership. In which case, I mean, as weak as they can put out, I'm saying that hopefully they'll put out a weaker squad against us, but even a weak Man City squad is still some squad, by the way.
It is.
But again, as I say, under the lights, St. James's Park, anything can happen. Against top teams. We've seen it time and time again. Not that often against Man City, although we did it this season. And not so much at weekends as in midweek, but we've got a very good record. I seem to recall, is it 17 out of 19? Evening kickoffs at St. James's Park. Something like that. So, who knows? And once we get past them, if we get past them,
when we get past them,
that's another big fish out. We've got two are taking each other out. One of them's going to be out. So the quarterfinals are going to be that much easier. Who's to say? Wembley, tell me more.
Winning the lot.
Will we be singing that? Will that be? I mean, honest to God, last night, coming out the ground, all the way down to the taxi rank, it was just constant singing the whole way. It was incredible, and hopefully it'll be the same. The best I can remember for that was when we beat Leicester in the quarter-final, was it, of we played Southampton in the semis. We played Leicester in the quarters 2 years prior when we got Man United in the final. And that night there, the town was just singing, from St. James's to the big market. It was just chanting, tell me more, the whole night long everywhere. Incredible scenes.
I just think with a Man City game, the obviously we need the fans to get behind, but we need the atmosphere in the ground. We need it to be, it is a cup competition. We have to be up. The fans have to be up for it. Eddie has to get the players up for it. My one worry is that everybody's saying obviously Man City have had a bad little run and things. Pep Guardiola knows what it's like coming to St. James's Park, and he'll be knowing what it's like, what the atmosphere is going to be like when he gets here. So he will have his team up for it as well. And let's face it, I mean, if we're perfectly honest, if they play at their best and we played our best, there's only one team going through to the next round, and
Newcastle United.
It's not Newcastle United.
I disagree. You've went down in my estimation with that comment, Pokey. I'm
But
Pokey out now, me like.
but anyway, moving on to the setup, what team do you think will play? Do you think it'll be very much the same? Obviously, we'll see if Ramsey's out, because obviously at the minute he is suspended. So do you think there'll be any changes apart from maybe Willock for Ramsey?
Well, by the way, we have got this notion that I haven't seen confirmed anywhere, but definitely saw it mooted that Newcastle were appealing the red card.
But I'm saying at this point he is out, so we'll class that as...
Presumably we'll find that out very...
But I mean, we'll class that as being the case. At the minute he is out, so would there be any other changes you guys would make apart in the midfield, or would you agree Willock comes in, or is there anybody else you think should be coming in? Should Voldemort be coming back?
I was thinking Waldemar, to be honest. If he's back from illness, I would say put Waldemar in. Maybe, but then again, when Willock didn't really put a foot wrong in the games that he's came into, so I wouldn't be adverse to seeing Willock just get put in as a straight swap for Ramsey. But I could see either Alanga or Harvey Barnes getting taken out in replacement for Waldemar. So I guess if we are looking to do something different to bring in Willock in, then Waldemar coming in for Ramsey, and then I mean I don't know how you would maybe play that though. Does that mean that we're going to see Waldemar behind, well, in the midfield again, which I don't think everybody wants to see? You could make an argument for, well, why not just play Gordon
the
behind
9:30 show?
Well, Tamera. So yeah, I would like to see Waldemar come back.
So just in regards to that, you've obviously made the point there. Do you think there's any chance from either areas that Osula should start? He scored that goal. His confidence will be through the roof. Is there a saying that when his confidence is up, give the lad a chance?
Absolutely.
I think there is a very good reason for that. However, is he better coming off the bench? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Can you imagine starting Osula instead of Alanga, and then Walty coming in for Ramsey? So we would go with Bruno and Tonali in midfield, and then, not Bruno and Tonali, man. J7 and Tonali.
J7 and Tonali, yeah.
J7 and then
Bruno would have some travelling to do to get back for that game.
Alanga. Osula, Voldemort, Barnes and Gordon.
Be a hell of a choice, wouldn't it?
Attacking lineup.
So do you think? Listen, start at the back. We've definitely got.
I was going to say
we've got to start Ramsdale for me. I don't think there's any doubt about that at all.
Yep.
And also, if Botman was on the bench for 90 minutes yesterday, unfortunately, I think the sending off precluded him getting a run out, which I would have liked to have seen. And I think that probably the reason he didn't start yesterday was because Eddie was we have got Paul in the building, and a new contributor, the Nigerian goat. Hello, Paul. How you doing?
Hello.
Oh, we can't hear you, Paul.
When I'll let you speak to Paul. Oh, that's better. Yeah, go on, Paul.
Go on.
Yeah, evening, go. How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, we're doing good.
Good.
What did you think of the match last night?
Well, where do I start?
Anywhere you
I
want.
think. Well, I think starting off with Ramsdale. Let's just start from the back. So Ramsdale, let's just say he's given me some cause for concern regarding his positioning. But yesterday, it was touch and go whether he starts over Pope. But for me personally, I would have gone with Pope. But yesterday, Ramsdale pulled out one of the candidates for a man of the match performance. 3 key saves, one to his top right-hand corner, which Pope is quite susceptible to letting in, either low shots. But this one was high to the right-hand side, plucked that one out of the sky, palmed that one away. Then the save from Xerxes and the save from Euro, which was point blank from a ball from Fernandez. So, yeah, Ramsdale, really encouraging, positive performance. That obviously leaves us with the question for the weekend as to whether we stick with Ramsdale or we go with Pope. But from my perspective, probably, I'd say Ramsdale's done enough to at the very least, earn himself the shirt for the next game. Then Trippier. So I was at the game yesterday, actually. And the one thing I noticed was every goal kick was going towards Cunha and where Trippier was. But credit to Kieran. We're not on the first name basis, but credit to Kieran Trippier. He defended quite well. Didn't allow Acuna to get the better of him. So, yeah, once again, another solid performance from Trippier. He's come under a lot of criticism recently, but yeah, he delivered yesterday, so that's really good. Joelinton, again, Colossus, physical, commanding that midfield. I think my only gripe with Joelinton was the final ball. But we know he's not the greatest with the final ball. But again, positive runs, strong in midfield, charging forward. So that's exactly what we wanted. And then we got Anthony Gordon, cool with the penalty, pressing from the front, giving us that fluidity and that ability and that pace for the forward players to being able to run in behind and giving the option for the midfield to play those forward balls forward, so that Gordon can run onto it. And then Osula, the man of the moment. To be fair, in that second half, as that second half progressed, they were coming closer and closer and closer to our goal, and we were sitting back. But it came as a welcome relief when Osula ran down the wing. If I'm really honest, in my head, I was like, here we go again. He's running, he almost fell over. I'm like, here we go again. I'm just sitting there watching, because I was nervous, arms folded, watching him run down the wing. Then he cuts inside, does a step over, does another step over, and then curls it into the top corner. Oh my God. My eyes almost popped out of my head. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen, because normally that story with Osula goes, he runs down the wing, he cuts inside, and he does what Joelinton done earlier on and blasts it into Rosette. So, yeah.
Or runs down the wing and falls over when he kept his feet.
Do you know what I mean? So, listen, like with all of you, I can imagine I've watched that goal probably 1,000 times. Just before I'd hopped on now, I was watching the goal again, different angles. The TV angle doesn't do it justice. There's an angle from Elise's end, high up, which is effectively the angle that I had. And that's the angle where you can see him running down the wing, cuts in, and then beautifully the net. I always say the net catches the ball. I'm waiting, he kicks the ball. I'm waiting to see where that ball ends up, and I just see the net catch the ball. Just what the doctor ordered. Beautiful things. In fact, in all honesty, we've seen this Osula type of goal before. So earlier on in the season, not Osula scoring it necessarily, but he runs down the wing, does a few step overs, he shoots against Fulham, keeper parries it, Bruno gets a rebound, and we get the winner 2-1 against Fulham at home. So we've kind of seen it before. So the Man United fans, to be fair, they were loud, and there was a lot of banter. But when that goal went in, they went silent, and it was time to go home.
Paul, can I just ask you, obviously being the new guy around here, just for a little bit of knowledge about you, do you live in the local area, or are you?
Yeah, so very varied story. So yeah, I've been supporting Newcastle since. Well, actually, first off, where was I born? I was born in North Shields, very randomly.
Wilton Keylad myself.
Sorry,
Wilton Keylad myself, so not too far.
Oh, nice. And
Don't let him fool you. He's a Mackham. Bogus a Mackham.
really,
But
I have to be
continue,
honest.
sorry.
I have to be honest. My local geographical knowledge of the local area is not the greatest. So, I was born in North Shields. I've raised all my life in London. I've been supporting Newcastle since 1993. The bad times. I've been seeing the 4-3s. We didn't have Sky, but I was watching it on teletext and having my heart broken, not on teletext, on CFAX, watching Colin Moore's goal going in the last minute via CFAX. Painful. But yeah, supported Newcastle since 93, born in North Shields, raised in London for a very long time. I was effectively, I felt like I was the only Newcastle fan in London. I hadn't discovered social media. And I kind of I had a Twitter account in 2011, but didn't use it for the best part of 10 to 13 years. And then got kind of active a little bit from about 2022 onwards. People were saying Twitter's a place to find out football news and stuff like that. So yeah, so use Twitter. Live in London, but recently I moved across to Amsterdam, and I kind of helped set up like a official supporters club there.
Wow.
I'm still loosely involved with the supporters club, but so that's kind of it. So that's kind of my story. That's kind of my history behind my love for Newcastle. So yeah, I'm a bit of a Newcastle addict. Heartbroken when we got relegated the first time, and the second time, but been there through the good times, and I go to as many games in London in the West Midlands as possible. But unfortunately, I can never get tickets to sit with a Newcastle fan, so I have to sit with effectively the home fans. So it's a bit, against Spurs, for example, I sat in the Spurs stadium and I had to control myself when we won. But then on
your hands under your legs.
Oh, mate, yeah. And then on the flip side, I was at West Ham. I was at the West Ham game when Jacob Murphy scored. Goal went in. I'm celebrating. I've almost broken my friend's legs. I've grabbed him so hard. And then I've had to sit there and watch goal after goal go in. And it was pretty obvious. After every goal that went in, I'm just sitting there like this. Not happy. So, it's a tough experience. Getting tickets is tough. But I think, for example, this season, I've been to Tottenham, West Ham, Leverkusen, and the game yesterday. But yeah, outside of that, I get to as many games as possible.
Another super chat in from there, Chaz. Was that good? I assume he's talking about your time in Amsterdam. Are you still living in Amsterdam now?
But in between. So I spent some time over there for work and some time over here for work. But today, currently, I'm back in London. So the getting back was literally like a 4-hour journey. 3 hours from Newcastle back to London, and then from one side of London to the other, another hour on top. So yeah, it's been a long day. But the sun was shining today.
It was not off, wasn't
it? Beautiful day in Newcastle today.
Paul, there's one very big question that everybody has to get asked around here. I don't know if you'll understand the terminology, but are you a happy clapper or are you a bedwetter? Happy clappers are sort of the ones that see everything great and Eddie Howe's the messiah.
Eddie out is what he's asking you for.
I was going to say the bedwetters are more Eddie out.
Well, I think I've got a balanced perspective, so I'm definitely Eddie Howe in. Again, if you followed Newcastle over the years, you'd understand when you start putting things into context, what he's achieved in such a short period of time versus what we've had in the past. We're in a really good place, but to go to that next level, you've got to understand you're fighting against clubs that have double our revenue, have historically been bigger teams for 20 to 10 to 15 years. You've got Tottenham, you've got Tottenham, Man United, Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool. All turnover. Some of them turn over double our Arsenal, or some of them turn over double our revenue. And for our team, you know, we're still post takeover. We've still got players like Jacob Murphy in the squad, Gillinton. You know, when we try and that's not a criticism, but it's for context. Eddie Howe, there are things he could do better. Say, for example, in the Everton game, prior to that, he found the winning formula where he had Anthony Gordon up front. But then he switches back to Walter Mardo. And whilst I appreciate Walter Mardo as a footballer, our original style of play is based on pressing, high intensity, those kind of two key fundamentals. But if you put Walter Mardo in there, he can't run in behind. He doesn't have the pace. He doesn't press as much. So it needs a little bit more time, a little bit more work. So the criticism of Eddie Howe would be probably if you stuck with the original format, but I understand it's got to rotate. But if you stuck with the original format against Everton, it's more than likely we would have won that game. And then we could have gone on and got a result against Man United as well.
There you go. There's your first compliment in the chats there, Paul. The GOAT knows the score.
Thank you for your kind words.
Balanced views, that's what we want. Don't get used to compliments, by the way, because there'll be plenty brickbats coming.
I'm blushing. But yeah, so yeah, I think so again, as a squad, we're evolving. You know, we've sold Isak. Any team that loses 20, 25, I'm fluffing up his figures, but any team that loses a 20 plus goal a season striker, it's going to take time to kind of evolve and recover from that. So, you know, we signed Wissa, he does his knee in the first after signing. We signed Walter Mardo, he settles in, but he's not in keeping with what our style of play is. But Walter Mardo is a good player. Don't think we should sell. I think we should keep. And then that will give us another string to our bow next season as we continue to evolve. Also, we still got Shah. You know, players like Shah, players like...
don't start on
Wait,
Shah.
whoa.
No, but this is not a criticism. This is for context as to when fans have an expectation of our team and where we should be and what we should be doing, they need to understand that some of these players that are there during the Mike Ashley days are still here now, and it takes time to kind of evolve and move those players along, and also needs to be a patience. We can't have, as a fan base, a kind of top four team expectation when we haven't got top 14 type players. Shah's a great player, great goal scorer, positionally always in the right place, but he does lack pace, and you know, he's just not to that kind of higher level that's required to kind of qualify for the Champions League every season.
Pete, this is going to get a little confusing. We've now got Peter in the chat as well, but I'm sure we'll manage. Peter,
just for the viewers' benefit, we're not changing over tonight to the 9:30 show. There's been a few changes going on in the background, so we are just continuing.
Yeah. So, good evening, Peter. We were just before obviously Pete came on. We were discussing the Man City game and we thought about setup and lineup. Pete, I'll come to you this after Peter. What do you think for the Man City game? Very much the same team, or do you think there'll be some changes? Obviously, it's got to be one, hasn't it? Potentially.
Yeah, it's kind of a tricky one in this because I think like we played so well against Man United last night, and I don't think you want to change it too much. It's a difficult balance because I know Timmy likes to talk about getting the cotton wool out quite a lot and rotating and keeping players fresh, and I totally get that. Obviously, Barcelona comes after, I think, doesn't it? The Man City match. So, but what I would say is that I would like to see Ramsdale given a longish run now in the team. Personally, I've got a feeling maybe Nick Pope might come back in based on what Eddie Howe said. He got asked about it, and I just read the quotes before the match, and he said that the Wednesday match and Saturday are two very important games. They're critical games in our season. So he kind of had that in mind with his selection. So that tells me maybe he's thinking Pope's going to come back in for Saturday. I don't know.
Seriously, do you think that the fitness levels, the physical energy levels of a come into those sort of equations. I can understand it for a midfielder, when you're running, 10 kilometers a game, whatever, that they can get fatigued, but surely not a goalkeeper. A goalkeeper cannot get fatigued.
No, I don't think it would be for that reason. I think it would. I just think he rates Nick Pope, and I think that maybe he just thought. I mean, we'll see, won't we? I mean, hopefully he keeps Ramsdale in, but I'm just kind of trying to speculate based on what Eddie Howe said, and if he brings Nick Pope back in, it might be the case that he felt that Pope needed just to come out the limelight for that match, have a bit of a reset, and then come back in with a kind of renewed vigor.
But Chris's
we'll see.
argument on Tuesday night was that Eddie being Eddie and having his favourites definitely wouldn't drop Nick Pope. And he has done. For a league game, for an important game. So, and I seriously, I can think of no reason at all, based on his performance last night, why you would even consider dropping him.
No, I'm the same. I would keep him in. I've been calling for Ramsdale to be given a run way before now, to be honest. I've been wanting to see more of him because, like we've said about Pope, we all love Nick Pope and he's been brilliant for Newcastle. But, it has been a bad season for Nick Pope, I think, in terms of the clangers that he's dropped. So, yeah, I think with Ramsdale, you see, you hear a lot of people say about how he's no better, but I just think we need to find out. And as far as we know, maybe Ramsdale, maybe we're going to see the best of him. Maybe he's going to be the kind of the best version of Ramsdale in terms of he might have matured. He obviously at Arsenal, he was a bit erratic. I think that was his one criticism for me anyway. When I seen him for Arsenal, he was a bit of a, not hothead, but he would come out of his box quite quickly and didn't need much encouragement to kind of get involved when maybe he didn't need to get involved. So, but maybe now he's learned from all that and he's going to be a bit more mature. So, yeah, I mean, the saves he made against Man United were top class. And to be fair, he's done that whenever he's played for Newcastle. I know in previous games he maybe flapped at a few crosses, but he's always pulled off some quality saves when he has stepped in. And last night was his best game yet, obviously. So, yeah, keep him in.
And do you think there's any justification in playing Osula from the start against Man City, Peter?
I think that one goal, I think William Osula would say definitely, and he'd point to that goal and say that's the only justification that you need. So, possibly.
What about you, Paul, on Osula?
I think my question is, where would you play him? I think playing him up front, he looks a little bit lost playing as a central striker. Maybe off the wings would be less risk, and we can use his energy where he can trap back and he can cut in and work some magic, I would say, personally. But just one thing on Osula. I'm pretty sure he's right-footed, but he seems to have quite a good left foot in terms of getting the shot off on his left foot. But yeah, to answer the question, I'd probably go with Osula maybe on the right. Maybe start with Wissa, and then with Barcelona in mind, Gordon up front for the Barcelona game. But Christina, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. First of all, yeah, so Osula is right-footed from what I've seen. I would be tempted to play him on the right wing. I think earlier on in the season when we were talking about Osula, we were talking about maybe giving him a go on the right wing, because on the right wing he looks, chaotic and unpredictable. Everything that he showed that he was last night for that goal, really. And I think, we saw him against the, when I think it was the Karabakh game where he played as the central forward, and he didn't look the exciting player that he often does for us in that position. So I would definitely play him on the right. And to be fair, I mean, there's nothing in the performance of Jacob Murphy or Anthony Elanga that you could say would definitely keep. And I'm a big fan of both of those men, but you wouldn't say that there's any reason to say, oh, well, you can't try somebody else on the right off their performances. We do have quite a big run of games coming up as well, so you might want like an Elanga for midweek, somebody with a little bit of pace, somebody to mix things up a bit. So maybe just kind of capitalizing on Osula's. I mean, he's got to be absolutely buzzing after that last minute winner against Manchester United. So capitalize on that feeling, capitalize on that confidence, and give him a go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, guys, just moving obviously the subject slightly on in regard to the game. Do you think the FA Cup now is our best chance of Europe this season? Do you think that's our best chance to get into Europe? Pete, I'll start with you on that one.
I think it's I know I'm sitting on the fence here, but I think it is 50-50 at the minute between that and the league. I think there's still enough time in the league to try and climb up to 7th. I'm personally not expecting to get higher than that, if I'm being brutally honest. I just think it's going to be one of those seasons where I think that's the highest that we'll aim for. But yeah, FA Cup, I think Eddie will look to that to try and win that, and I think he will see that as a really good opportunity. So, yeah, I think he will go Gordon up front on Saturday. Personally, I think against City, he'll want to play in his mind what is the strongest team, and he'll look to Osula maybe to come off the bench again. But I think we'll put it this way: with the Premier League form that we're in, I think if we can manage to beat City, personally, I think we will. I think we'll win. But if we don't kick on in the league in the next league match, say, then, or the next 2 league games, let's say that.
But Chelsea away and the Mackems at home.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, them 2 games are just massive. I think if we don't kind of get 7 points out of them, I would kind of say the FA Cup then would probably be our best route at that point if we're still in the competition.
Well, that's a bit late to be making that decision then, though. That's the problem. Where do you think Pep's priorities will be lying right now?
He seems to just want to win it all.
Man City's that's for Man City, isn't it? Do you want to do the super chats with him?
We've got water saying, is that Gentina's drinking?
It's water. But thank you for. He follows up the next one as well. He says I'm doing well.
So she's not an alcoholic, and seems surprised she can get her words out. Bravo, girl.
I mean, I'll take it. Thank you very much for the super chats.
Yeah. Go. What's your thoughts on Europe this season? Is the FA Cup the best route, or is it still the league?
Yeah, I think I probably agree with Peter to a certain extent, but it's still kind of early. I think if we can string together 3 wins, then the chance of qualifying for Europe becomes quite high. Whether it's Conference or Europa, we'll see.
Or Champions League.
Champions League's possible, but it'd have to be 4 or 5 wins back to back to kind of really jump the table, make an impact on the gap that we've got currently at the moment. I think in terms of Saturday, I think my only concern is Man City drew yesterday. So does that affect... Well, it doesn't matter what team City put out. They're going to put out a strong team anyway. Don't know if Haaland's back or when he's returning, but they might take now Saturday's game a little bit more seriously than what they were intended to do previously. So our greatest chance possibly maybe through for Cup, but if we win a few games back to back, then all of a sudden the league opens up to us.
Am I a lunatic? Don't answer that question. But I don't mind Haaland being back. Haaland's played against us 10 times and scored once.
Yeah, exactly that.
How did you say that?
I don't know. Man City are angry, so they're coming off a draw. They might take Saturday's game a little bit more serious than what they did had they'd won yesterday. So our greatest chance possibly is through the league. But again, it's probably still too early. I think we need to get through March and get into April. We need to get through these run of games, see what happens in the Cup, see what happens in the Champions League, and literally see what happens in the league. And then we'll have a clearer understanding. But right now, it's pretty much up in the air. So I'm sitting on the
And
fence.
and Tina, what's your thoughts? Do you what way do you think our best chance for Europe is this season? I know you're going to say everything because we're going to win everything, but I'll give you
Yeah,
the
well, I
chance to
mean,
do it.
so when we win the FA Cup and we win the Champions League, then where we finish in the Premier League's not going to matter as much, really. But I mean,
Fair point, like.
yeah, that's the way we've got to look at this. And everybody's saying that we've become a cup team. So what's to say that we're not going to do that? I mean, we've qualified for the last 16 of the Champions League, which everybody said we weren't going to do. We beat Aston Villa, which everyone says we weren't going to do. We won the Carabao Cup last season, which everyone said we weren't going to do. So maybe I am, crazy lunatina toony. But maybe, because, I mean, if you remember, the only person who said that Osula was going to score when he came on last night was me. And the only person who was absolutely convinced that we were beating Manchester United last night, besides, I think Wynn kind of agreed, but I was the one who stood here and said, no, we're definitely going to win it. So maybe they're crazy predictions, but maybe they're not. On a more serious note, though, probably the cup competitions are probably our best bet to get into Europe this season. I think we've now got that Carabao Cup in our trophy cabinet, and we now know that we can go on to win trophies. And I'm not scared of Manchester City. I know that that Paul was saying that Manchester City, because they had that draw, they might come in and take this game more seriously. I hope they do. I genuinely hope they do. I think teams who come at us bring the best out of us. I think teams that give us a little bit too much. It's like I think it was like Borky was saying earlier on about Alanga, about Osula. Sometimes if you give people too much time to think about something, that's where they start making the mistakes. And I think that's very much us. When we've got the ball and we're trying to find a way through and we're passing it side to side, that's when we are at our worst, in my opinion. Or when we try to defend. But when our backs are up against the wall and when people are coming at us and people are just getting in our face a bit, I think that's what brings the fight out of us. We've got Joe Linton back to his best for this game as well. We've got Osula finding form. We've got Trippier getting stronger every game. We've got Botman back. We've got, Ramsdale's finding a bit of form. I don't see why there's no reason. And other teams such as Nottingham Forest have shown us that you can get into Manchester City. You can get at them. They're not indestructible. They're not made of they're not inhuman. They're not machines that can be hurt. That you can you can get at them and you can ruffle their feathers. And no disrespect to Nottingham Forest, but we're more dangerous than them. So I'm, like I said, very confident that we move on to the quarterfinals after this Saturday. And, once you've knocked off Manchester City, what stops you from making it all the way to the final? And as we've all seen, Wembley's almost our second home these days, isn't it? So that'll be another trophy in the cabinet.
You know what will happen when we, if we beat City, we're going to draw Arsenal, for example, next round.
Bring them on. Absolutely bring them on. I want that. I want Arteta to come out and be like, oh, you know what? The grass was too green and the ball was too round. The ball was too round and there was a little purple stripe on it. That was too purple and the goals were too netty and the goalkeeper's gloves were too glovey and the t-shirts, they were too t-shirty. I want those tears. I'd drink those Arteta tears.
Of course. I guess just one question. Can we afford, whilst I agree with the philosophy and yes, it is possible we can beat City, can we afford to play a really strong lineup against City and then follow it up again against Barcelona with another strong lineup?
I mean, we don't have the deepest of squads. It is a good thing that we've got Botman coming back, because I think Botman and Burn being able to be rotated is going to be a big thing over those two games. And let's be honest, if Osula has actually found that little magic touch, he couldn't have timed that any better. Well, we do kind of have, if you look at it, because I mean, there's a chance that we might have. Is there not a chance that Livramento might be back as well for one of those games, like by the Barcelona game?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've got that extra level of rotation. We've got the fact that Walter Maida, let's not forget, is still, we haven't given up on him the way that a lot of people have given up on Wissa. But we've got Wissa, we've got Walter Maida, we've got Gordon, who can all play up front. We've got Murphy, we've got Alanga, and we've got Osula, who can play on the right. We've got Barnes, or we've got Gordon. I'm going to pretend we didn't play J7 at left midfield, and we're just going to move swiftly past that one. But we've got a bit of a team. Like, I know we're patched together with band-aids and like duct tape, but we do have a bit of a team, and I think regardless of, we're not a type of team that's played a weaker side. I think we show that against Karabag. We can rotate, but we're not going to play a weakened side. So whether we think it's going to be possible for us to play a strong team against both of those sides or not, I think we're probably going to, and hopefully it works out for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll go to a little bit of game, like probably against the rest of where you want to get an away tie in the London area in the FA Cup. Does that work better for you?
No, it doesn't matter where it is, if I'm honest. If it's in London, then I'll try and cheekily see if I can attend. But no, I don't. As long as the main thing is we win or we get through, that's all that matters.
That's the right answer, mate. Right, has anybody else got anything to say about the Man City game, or should we get on to a little bit of news that's come out today?
Just quickly, right? I do think we can play full strength and go again against Barca, because, like Tina said, we've got players who can chop and change. We've got Willock as well. We've got right sides, Alanga and Murphy. We've got Bottomard, like you said. Ramsey, I think.
And Miley potentially coming back.
Yeah. So I've got no worries about going full strength. Yeah.
Back. Some of these players are back.
I'm getting excited. We're winning the lot. We're winning the lot. I'm getting excited now. Come on.
Some of these players are back, but back with cobwebs. Miley. Livramento, Tino, back with cobwebs. Haven't played for a little while, so
you could probably add Botman to that list as well. To be fair, as well, with him being in and out of the squad.
Yeah. But I get what you're saying. We can still field a strong team, but I feel that probably we need in my opinion, doesn't mean it's right. It's just I feel that we probably need the best to beat Man City and the best to beat Barcelona.
You probably should have been warned as well before you came on, and I think Peter's been on a couple of times with me now to where he's used to it. I am prone to get a little bit carried away, so I apologise in advance for the fact that you've been thrown into a show with me.
Nothing to apologise for. I'm all for it. I like the positivity. I think you raised some valid points, so carry on. Keep on.
There you go. Right,
So
Boogie,
just-
you were
When-
going to say about this is the artist's impression of the new, because obviously we've bought the land here now at Wilsonton Hall, and this is the artist's impression of our new training ground.
I thought that was going to be the stadium at first. I was worried. I was like, well, where's the stands?
No, this is the training ground, would you believe?
That makes more sense.
Sorry.
Beautiful.
Firstly, thank you very much to Connor for obviously sending across these details. This is the potential new training ground image released, and Craig Hope's seen me reporting that a decision's imminent on this. Do you think it's the first time we've had it after a loss? After a win. It's normally after a loss that they start spieling out the stuff about training grounds and stadiums. Do you think this is just another media thing, or do you think there is actually something now beginning to progress with the training ground? I'll start with you, Win.
But do you think they might have been expecting us to get beat last night? No, I mean, it looks fantastic. You know, obviously they'll be using it for. It looks as though it's got a bit of a stand potential as well. You know, with there's covered standing, it would appear on the right of the pitch nearest to us.
Yeah.
In the foreground kind of thing, that there's what looks to be potential sitting or boxes or something in the stand itself facing the pitch. You've got
it looks Wayne like there could be about 1,000 seats there. So do you think that's potentially for the goalkeepers Howe's wanting to sign?
He wouldn't let it lie.
That's got
Wait,
almost as many empty seats as Manchester City Stadium, then, hasn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's your
Shots
thoughts on it?
fired.
What's your thoughts on it there, Peter? What do you think it is now progressing? Do you think it is imminent that there's going to be something released?
I'd like to think so. They've had enough time, to be fair, to kind of get onto this.
know.
And yeah, I mean, do we know where this is, where it's supposed to be?
Yeah, it's Woolsington Hall,
Right.
up
Okay,
between
yeah.
Kenton Bar and the airport.
Right. I mean, it looks impressive. It looks a bit like the Avengers headquarters, to be honest.
It does.
So yeah, it looks quite futuristic. But no, I mean, yeah, if they can do that, yeah, bring it on. Like I say, I think it's about time in a way, because I think this kind of thing is what we kind of all expected.
And they can spend the money on that.
Exactly.
There's no reason why the infrastructure doesn't affect PS or FFP,
Yeah.
SCR as it is as it's going to be now.
Mm.
So it's a free hit.
Mhm. Yeah, I do think as well that it can play a part in trying to sign players. I know there's a bit of a debate around that. Some people think it has no influence at all. I think it doesn't maybe have a massive sway, but I think if you can show, kind of like a portfolio, if you like, of images like this when you're trying to sign a player, and like I'm talking about when it's finished, if it's nearly, if you kind of building work is underway. Yeah, I think you can show that, and I think you can impress players with this kind of stuff. So you want the best facilities possible, and it looks like, I mean, like you say, when with the money the Saudis have got, it will be top-notch facilities. So I think it'll be brilliant. Yeah.
Brilliant. And good. I don't know if you can look at it from a different perspective. I might be putting you on the spot here, mate. But do you know, obviously, if any of the London clubs, their sort of training facilities, does that look up to spec with theirs? Or if you don't, do you think that looks all right?
I haven't, but I think my initial comment would just be looking at the main building, looks nice, but then I'm pretty sure I've read stuff about there be like mini stadiums included within the training complex. So my expectation I'd expect to see more seating in and around the training pitches to accommodate maybe some of the youth team. I don't know if the women's team may play there, for example, and stuff like that. So the main build looks impressive, but I think kind of the outside probably needs a little bit more seating to kind of keep it in keeping or close to what City have got or something like that. So that's kind of what my expectations would be. And obviously the big thing is sponsorship. We need to get that training ground labelled up, sponsored, to get that revenue growing.
Yeah. What are in saying with somebody mentioning the Avengers headquarters? So you'll have Iron Man up front and the Hulk at the back.
Boom.
We've already got Hulk. He's in midfield. Joe Linton.
That's it.
Nice.
What we need on that building, no matter how we build it or anything like that, the area it's in, it needs to have a lot of space, simply to put the name of a sponsor on the top, so that when the planes are coming into Newcastle, they get the free sponsorship from that as well. Of everybody looking out the plane windows, being able to see who sponsors Newcastle.
Charge them an absolute fortune for it as well, couldn't we?
Christina, do you have any thoughts on that training ground? Do you think it looks acceptable? And I mean, from your point of view as well, do you think that's also what the women's team need?
Do you mean like it's in the training ground? I mean, there was an interesting point that Paul just made there, which is that because I mean the women are mostly playing at the.
They've even got the aeroplanes in the sky there.
It does have a slight look of an airport as well, doesn't it? Just from a certain angle. But yeah, I mean, I would hope that there's going to be enough facilities up there to allow the women to kind of train there as well. I don't see why they couldn't. The one thing is though, obviously you would like, if they're going to build this, you would like to think that maybe they could have played some of the women's games at this stadium. And again, as Paul mentioned, that there isn't really the seating for that. But I think part of the development should be trying to move them out of Gateshead International Stadium. But I mean, you look at that, like as I think it was Win who said that it was Peter who was saying when you're trying to attract players, this is something that you can show them once it's completed, and I think it will have a big impact on attracting players, because you don't want to train at some like janky old shack with a field on there, do you? Like you want to feel like you're a Premier League footballer. It's like the reason you buy a car that looks good, isn't it? You want to feel like you've got a bit of a posh car, even if it's not such a posh car. And I think that's the thing with this is this is going to be state of the art. It's going to have the training facilities that players are going to want to come to, that youth players are going to want to come to, younger players or budding young superstars. So I think if we get this right, that could be a massive step in the right direction for us.
The only thing I think is slightly disappointing with this is that it's never happened earlier. I mean, if you look at we're closest rivals and local neighbours, Sunderland have had the Academy of Light for how many years now? It must be maybe 30 years that's been set up, 20, 30 years. How have we got into a situation where we're still trading at Blue Flames? I know there's been a lot of money spent on it, but, it's never been a purpose-built centre for a Premier League team. I don't know how we've managed this long without having that purpose-built place for the train.
To be fair, though, I mean, I walked into it was like a shopping center. It wasn't even just a shopping center. It was like a full shopping area. It was like a very miniature version of Newcastle Town Centre. And I walked into one of the shops, and I just all I needed was a packet of chewing gum, and I put the money down on the bench, and somehow I became CEO. So it must be a little bit easier to develop things in Sunderland than it is in Newcastle. No offense to any Sunderland fans listening. That was a joke. That was just bants. Don't come at me.
So just moving on from the training ground, and the wind's going to keep, I think, showing a few pictures up there. But
that's the current ground. That's what you're comparing.
That's the current training ground, yeah. So just moving on from the training ground, obviously the Geordie journals were reporting the day that the club will appeal Ramsey's red card, and Howe has confirmed this seemingly. I don't know how we discussed it a little bit earlier on, but I don't know if you guys think it is one that we should be appealing. We'll go with Peter first.
Aye, definitely. Like for me, I think you've got to appeal that. I think it's a difficult one because I can kind of see where they were coming from the referee's point of view. The fact that he's took around the goalkeeper, he's went the ground, but it was such a half-hearted kind of attempt to get a penalty. I think it was like it was kind of like he'd gave up. He knew the pass, the touch on the ball was too heavy. Around the keeper, he knew he wasn't going to get there. So it was more kind of Ramsey giving up, really. Like, and I think he was just kind of like head in hands, like, damn it, I've missed a good opportunity there. But he kind of dropped to the ground as a token gesture, So, yeah, you got to appeal it. I think it'll get overturned.
Do you not think that Lemons touched his foot? Do you not think it was?
I was trying to work that out, Tina, and I was watching the replays, and I couldn't say for absolute certainty that he did, but at the same time, it looked so close that you can't rule it out. So, yeah.
I'm still waiting for the right angle. Yeah, I'm saying VP. I'm a bit in two minds as to whether there was contact, but it feels like also it's like his foot kind of dug into the turf and then he just went down rather than trying to fight to stay on his feet. But yeah, I think we should appeal it anyway. It should get overturned, but we'll see.
So you also think that one was a definite appeal? The GOAT, do you think that we'll probably win that one?
Yeah. Well, from a fan's perspective, yeah, I think that's a no-brainer. That should be kind of the rest should be rescinded. But the FA, they're wrong and strong sometimes. So you see them on what's that Sky show called? Mic'd Up. And they bring the referee onto the show, and he looks at the decision and goes, yeah, I'm comfortable with that, wouldn't have changed a thing. So, if it goes to the FA, they may just say, yeah, we're happy with a comfortable decision, we're going to stick with it and back the referee.
We had kind of this discussion earlier on, which was, because it was a second yellow, because it was a yellow card offence,
yeah,
VAR can't look at it. The fact that next season it changes, but they couldn't. Right now, they can't look at it because it's just a yellow card. However, they could look at it, deciding whether it was a penalty or not. In other words, had the referee got it wrong, and that there had been contact, it was a foul, and therefore it's a penalty. Go and have a look at it again, ref. Which they didn't do. So what they've actually done, if they have looked at it, and this could account for why he took as long to give the yellow card. Because he's thinking in his own mind, right, it's a yellow card, he's simulated, but he's got the message on the headset, we're looking at VAR for a penalty.
Fair enough, yeah.
And then they've said it's not a penalty. So Banks has said, right, well, if it's not a penalty, I was right. It is simulation. Yellow card off.
Yeah.
In which case, it had nothing to do with the Man United antics.
But is this a cheeky VAR review without putting it on the screen? I'm not sure if there's an official process. For every VAR review, you have to put it on the screen. Well, maybe they were just checking it anyway, but they never actually formally communicated that they were reviewing it.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's the only thing, because if they've looked at it and said it isn't a penalty, the only way they can have done that is if they're saying there was no contact.
Mm.
And therefore, if they're saying there's no contact, then they can't say the referee's wrong in justifying simulation.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a catch-22 situation.
As I said during the show,
And as you said, they're wrong, and more often than not, they're wrong and strong.
But as I said during the show, the referee shouldn't be using VAR for a yellow card in that situation. If he thought it was simulation at first, he should have booked him and sent him off before the decision went to VAR for the penalty. Then everything can get reversed if it's not. But doing it after that technically means VAR made the decision on the yellow card, which VAR isn't there to do. So again, that's the wrong process. The referee should have, as soon as that happened, if he thought I'm going to book him for diving, should have booked him and sent him off, then let the VAR make the decision on whether it was a penalty or not. Then we've seen in the past the yellow cards can get reversed if it's not a penalty.
I also think it's a bit of a weird one, that where the way that it's kind of being presented is because they're deeming that there was no contact, thus it's been ruled as simulation. But as you know, surely people fall over. Like, I think there was contact personally, and I've seen replays of it where I'm pretty convinced that I can see the goalkeeper touch his foot. I'm very convinced that there was a touch, but even if you're going to say that there was no contact, the fact that he hasn't appealed for it, the fact that he hasn't went down and rolled over, he's just kind of fallen over. Like, surely at absolute worst, he's lost his footing, or he's been touched. Because if you look at the way that his right foot goes out as well, you don't intentionally do that, because you can twist your knee, you can dislocate your patella very easily by putting your foot out in the way that he did.
Yeah, he was kind of in two minds, wasn't he? Because he knew it was a heavy touch. And I think he was maybe thinking about, like, diving, if you like. He was maybe thinking in his head, goalkeeper's rushing out, but he seemed to just hesitate. And I think he almost kind of like changed his mind and in the end kind of like stopped himself from diving. You know what I mean? He was kind of like, he was on the verge of doing it, and then he just kind of like...
There's an argument that he left his foot there a little bit longer than he might have needed to, as if maybe he was looking for a foul. But that doesn't mean that he still wasn't, because he left his left leg there to just sit by the looks of it.
Sorry, guys, I'll just jump in quickly because we've got a super chat there from Wazza that we haven't read yet.
Is he picking on
me? Still got
again?
the wheelie bins though. Yeah, but the wheelie bins are for rubbish, Wazza, not for having baths in.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tina, I interrupted you there.
I'm now interested to know who's been having baths in wheelie bins, to be fair. I don't even know if that's
our players.
Our players, it was at the training ground.
At the old training ground, paddling pool and wheelie bins.
Oh, I so wish I hadn't asked that question.
Sissoko and Anita and Jan Matt and Perez were there.
Oh, man. Why do I now know that about us? To be fair, though, if there's any pictures of that on the internet, if anybody wants to send them to me, you can email me. No, I'm joking. But yeah, no, it's the argument from some Manchester United content creators is that Alanga left his leg there. not Alanga, sorry, what am I saying? Ramsey left his leg there to try to invite the foul, and then it didn't come, so he's fallen down. But if you look at the way that you could argue that he's left his left leg there looking for something, but then it's his right foot that gets touched, and it's his right foot that then goes out. And I think his lack of reaction is maybe because he was waiting for a touch on his left, but he hasn't appealed, he hasn't play acted, he hasn't asked for the penalty. You can't really. I will be. I mean, I'm usually fuming at the officiating, but I will be absolutely beside myself with confusion if that doesn't get overturned and Ramsey has to serve a ban for that.
It should only be 2 yellows, so it's 1 game, and I'm pretty sure it's the FA Cup game he'd missed, no? It's not going to be 1 Premier League game. I think it might be the FA Cup game he missed. And he's available
it will be the FA Cup game, yes.
So it's not. I mean, if it's not overturned, it's not necessarily a bad thing. He's had a rest. He was vomiting at half time. He's played another half of football now. So yeah, maybe we should get him back. But I mean, worst case scenario, he misses 1 game, and then he's back in the fold. But that gives obviously Miley also the opportunity, if he's fit, to kind of step up either for City as a warm up. And then probably there's another question whether what's the midfield lineup for Barcelona if Miley's fit? Do you keep Ramsey? Do you go with Miley? Because the first 2 picks will be Jolinton and Tonali, but we'll save that discussion for another day.
Do you want to do that super chat, Win?
No. Cheers, Wazza. We're not reading that one out.
Not reading that one out. No bother. Just moving on, we've got a picture there of the mighty in regards to Bruno watching the game. It's good to see him. Good to see. Obviously, he's still interested in Newcastle United, sitting there watching on his phone. Good to see, lads. Good and lasses. Good to see
in
Bruno.
Brazil.
Well, you would hope he was watching the match, wouldn't he? You'd be devastated if your official club captain had went off to get some treatment, and then there was a big match against Manchester United, and he was just like, "No, you know what it is. I'm just going to watch EastEnders instead." Like, that's not exactly great captain behaviour, is it?
Well, and on that subject, by the way, that's the first Premier League game we've won since we signed Bruno without him in the team.
Because he was watching it. We had his energy transferred onto the team because he was watching it. Thank you, Bruno. You've done it for us again.
So just
he's all in, like.
Just moving on to the next bit of news there that's been breaking the day. A summer offer from Man City would be considered. The more people I speak to, the more I expect this to happen, and that comes from Craig Pope. Do you see Man City getting Tino this summer? Win?
I can see them putting a bid in. Absolutely. Whether they will offer enough to tempt us is another matter. However, all I would say is they need to talk to Tino, talk to his agent, who's his dad, and find out, look, what's the score here? What we do not want is another Isaac situation where we're saying he's not going anywhere, even though we know he wants to go. And I'm not saying for 1 second that he does want to go, by the way, but we cannot allow another Isaac situation to arise.
And your thoughts, Peter?
Yeah, I can see it happening because it feels like there's no smoke without fire with this one, with Tino and being linked with Man City the way he has been so often lately, and he hasn't signed a new contract. So maybe there's a bit of doubt from our side about whether we should kind of try and resist that bid because of his injury record. So maybe the club are kind of like looking at that thinking, do you know what? Well, maybe we will cash in and obviously have to line up some targets in advance to replace him. But yeah, I can see it happening, unfortunately, because he's a quality player on his day, and when he is fit, he's one of the best fullbacks around. But I think if he can stay fit between now and when is he due back? Does anyone know? Is he due back anytime soon, or is he?
Well, Eddie said that Saturday is probably too soon. but he's looking at the Chelsea game.
Yeah, maybe that'll determine his future. Really, if he gets back in the team and has a long run in the team between now and the end of the season, or if he plays a major part in the season, then like in the running, then yeah, maybe the club will say, "Do you know what, we're going to resist. We're going to get Tino to sign a new contract." But I agree, Win, as well, and Borky, what you've said there about if he indicates he wants to go, right? I just think early doors, you just accept that and you don't do another Isaac. If he wants to go to Man City, you get that settled early on and you get it done. And you can replace Tino if you get a good amount of money for him. There'll be players out there we can bring in because you'll get a big fee, I would imagine, for Tino.
What would you take? What would be the least you would take?
Is he 23 or 4?
Is he
In the wrap.
23 yet?
20, yeah, about 23, circa, yeah.
I think you have to take into account his injuries, don't you, Peter? You have to take into account that. Maybe he's 60, 70 million for a fullback. Is that reasonable money? Maybe he's 80 pushing it?
I think, yeah, I think I wouldn't expect any more than 70, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
he's just turned 23. 23 in November.
What's your thoughts on it, Goat? What would you stick a twist with him, sell him, or keep him?
It's a bit controversial. So I think he's deferred his contract extension or negotiation discussions till the end of the season. So that already has alarm bells ringing. I think he's close to having 2 years left on his contract. It's Man City. So if they're going to come calling, they're going to pay for salary that we can't pay him. So I suspect that he probably leaves this summer. But for me personally, I think Tino is a good defender, but is susceptible to lapses in concentration and is not the best when he's in attacking positions in terms of making the right decision and making the right pass. So how much of a loss? I mean, he will be a loss, no doubt. But I think we might be able to replace him with somebody who's less injury prone and can deliver more of an attacking output as well as match his defensive contribution. But I think in terms of the sweet spot for his price, because he's a right back, I'd probably say, 70 tops. But because he's always injured and he's only got 2 years left, not always injured, because he's susceptible to being injured a lot and he's only got 2 years left in his contract, then 65 to 70, or even just 60 to 70 on a sliding scale, 60 plus add-ons, if we're lucky. I mean, how much did Man City pay for Nuri? Was that 50 million, I think?
Somewhere around there, I think, yeah.
So I would probably say that's kind of probably 60 then is kind of a sweet spot for us. And if we get 70, it's probably 55 to 60 or 60 plus add-on, 60 plus 5.
Tina, with you, do you think with it being a fullback that potentially is going, is that an easier position on the pitch to replace? Or these days are fullbacks so important to the structure of your team? Is it actually one of the more difficult places to get a new player for?
I mean, yeah, because if you look at it, I mean, if we were to lose Lewis Hall, could you guarantee that we'd find a left back as good as him? I think the fullbacks there are definitely quality fullbacks out there, but it's about finding the right one. I would hope that if we're going to, I mean, I would hope that we're looking at fullbacks already, because we know that we're lacking in cover for Tino, especially with Kieran getting a little bit older. So I would hope that we're already looking for that. And I mean, there are quite a few, to be fair. These days, there are quite a few really, really good fullbacks. It's just a case, like I say, of finding the gems, because you also get ones that look really good who then like let you down defensively, or ones who you know would expect a little bit more from after you've seen like a like a couple of their games. And you've got to be careful with fullbacks as well, because when you're bringing fullbacks in from like outside of the Premier League, sometimes the pace isn't there or the strength isn't there. So it's definitely a difficult position to fill, but not an impossible position to fill, because there are a lot of very talented fullbacks. I think it used to be an unattractive position. I think these days it's an attractive position. I think people, that there are some. You get a bit of freedom as a fullback, don't you? Because you can show a bit of skill on the ball. You can get forward. You can have a good cross. You can get plaudits for being good defensively. So I would hope that we're already looking for players, not necessarily with a view to selling Tino Livramento, but in as a view at the moment for having backup for Tino Livramento. And I would hope that now that we've got a proper like recruitment person in, rather than Eddie Howe doing it all himself, I would hope that we've got more than one choice at right back for who we'd be looking for in the summer as a target, so that if Tino Livramento does go in, and I'm agreeing with the lads, like if he keeps deferring from signing that contract, and he does look like he wants to go, cash in on him, take 70 million for him, and then move on. Because we cannot have another Isak situation. So we should definitely have a short list of fullbacks that we're looking at already, and we should be able to pull the trigger on that if Livramento does decide he goes to Manchester City. Because let's face it, I mean, players who have impressed at clubs where they've established their name have always moved on to Manchester City and done well. Like, let's look at Jack Grealish, who didn't spend every game on the bench, and I mean, he didn't have to then move to Everton at the start of this season. It kind of worked out for him, didn't it? So yeah, if Tino is listening, all I would say is the grass isn't always greener.
Very
Definitely.
true. Yeah.
What was I saying? I don't know where he's got this from. The last Fax win, we've bid 200 million for Mbappe. I don't know where that's come from, because I certainly haven't heard any.
Bossa was accusing me of being on the gin before. I think we found out with that super chat. Thank you for the super chat, though, Bossa. But I think we found out who's really on the gin tonight, haven't we, with that one?
I think
Well, we just quickly right on the fullbacks.
Nouri, by the way, was 32 million.
Is that it? From 32 million?
So Connor in the chat has said that he's put in there that Hakimi, 65 million to PSG is the world record for fullback. So, based on that, I don't think you can really ask for much higher than that for Tino. If you're going to start talking about world records being broken, then I don't think Tino would justify going above that with his injury record. As much as I love him, he's a quality player. But yeah, I think if you're going to ask for more than 65, he's got a lot of years ahead of him. Don't get us wrong, but I'm not sure if City would go much above that.
Yeah.
Surely you could hold Man City to ransom like other teams hold us to ransom, though. Like, people look at us and add a couple of extra tens of millions on top of their fee.
Ideally, in an ideal world, but then you look at the Isak situation and it dragged on too long, didn't it?
Not enough years on the contract.
Yeah, we've got 120 million for him, though.
That was
anyway, guys.
He only had a year left on his, by the way.
Yeah. Just moving on anyway to the next bit of Craig Hope news, and again, thank you very much to Connor for this. According to Craig Hope, Kieran Trippier, Emil Kraft will both leave Newcastle this summer when their contracts are up, and Aaron Ramsdale will return to Southampton this summer. The loan deal ends, which included a £20 million option to buy, but I'm guessing obviously Craig Hope's got information that we're not going to take that up. What's your thoughts on those three decisions? So Trippier leaving, Kraft leaving, and Ramsdale not getting offered a deal?
I think Livramento to City and what's his face from City to here, the Trafford to here is looking more and more on the cards. If we're saying for definite that Ramsdale's going back to Southampton, because I think for 16 million, he's definitely a viable option. But it just reeks to me that of Trafford's on his way here. And when I say reeks, I just mean it seems that way. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. So
Yeah.
Peter, your thoughts?
it would make
Definitely.
sense, wouldn't it? Tino one way, Trafford the other.
That's true. That
And
is
then,
very
and then
true when you
obviously
think
we
about it.
can
Yeah.
we could probably say, right, we want 70 million. You know, we'll give you, I don't know, 25 for Trafford.
Mhm.
So you're going to pay.
Yeah, because
going to pay
goalkeepers.
45. We'll get 45 in Trafford.
Yeah, I mean, it would obviously save a
like
lot of
that.
money in terms of having to shop around then and pay massive money for goalkeeper, which
Yeah.
the best goalkeepers do command, these days big fees. So yeah, if it helps with that, if Trafford's the target, I do think it's definitely a must in the summer that we get a new goalkeeper. I'd like to see, like I say, I'd like to see Ramsdale given a run now, and maybe he will be worth signing permanently if he can show what he's got from now at the end of the season. I mean, he played so good last night. Those were top class saves that he made. So yeah, I wouldn't rule that out neither. Signing him on for from next season onwards. But yeah, goalkeeper's a must. I mean, it's a shame like with Nick Pope because he has been such a good servant. I think for Newcastle last few years he's brought us success. But yeah, it's looking like his days are numbered. Like after the way it's gone this season.
Good. I'm going to ask
Peter
you a
Rooney.
slightly change the question to you in regards to with Ramsdale. He's going to cost us 16 million technically to sign him because it includes a £4 million loan deal, which we've paid anyway. For £16 million, do you think it would be worth signing him no matter what? In worst case, we'll flip him. We can sell him on for more.
Is that
Except
question to
who's going
me?
to pay more?
But for an England international goalkeeper, 20 million's nothing, is it?
Well, I agree. By the way, was I saying he's on about the fax machine noise in the background? I don't know where that's coming from, but he thought there was that fax machine noise in the background that was a £200 million bid going in for Mbappe.
You better go and check it, Win.
You better
You're
be
the only
joking
one
because
who
I've just ordered next season's T-shirt with Mbappe and 9 on the back. So was he? You better not have given us false information there.
I think Win's the only one old enough out the lot would have a fax machine, so it has to be Win, doesn't it?
No noises going on in my
That's what Wozzy was
background.
getting at. Yeah.
I think with Ramsdale, I think we should send him back. Keep that 16 million. Pope can be the second choice and put that 16 million towards buying a new first choice goalkeeper. I think that represents better value for money. Ramsdale's good. He's Ramsdale's done has helped us this season, but I think for 4 million, we paid a loan fee. We send him back. Thank you very much. Thank you for your service, and yeah, keep our powder dry. Pope can come in, and then yeah, we need to get a new number one. Be it Trafford. I'm impressed with Kobel. Is it Kobel of Dortmund? More so when he played
Kobel.
against us. Yeah, against us 2 seasons ago as well in the Champions League. He put in a few good performances. But I think if Trippier's leaving, not being offered a renewal, and Kraft is leaving,
and Tino's leaving,
and Tino's leaving, there's something because there needs to be an understudy. So Trippier needs to be offered an extension. Kraft, thank you for your service. It's time for you to go. And I mean, in an ideal world, I also would love to keep Tino, by the way. But if he has to go, if he wants to go, then you go. But yeah, I can't see us getting rid of Tino leaving, Trippier leaving, and Kraft, all 3 right backs. So I think there's more twists and turns in this story.
And Tina, your thoughts
on the Ramsdale part?
Yeah, and what we're discussing. No.
Sorry, no, because they brought the right backs back into it, and we brought Craig Hope into it.
No. Well, the question
Don't try to get back at me. Yeah, no. In regards to Ramsdale,
wait. Well, Trippier, obviously, Kraft and Ramsdale. Would you let all 3 of those go?
again, I mean, I wouldn't let Ramsdale go. I think you've made a good point there that for 16 million that we've already paid 4 million of an in England national goalkeeper. I mean, that's an absolute steal, and I've got a little bit more faith in him than Nick Pope at the moment. But Nick Pope could change my mind on that. You know, if he comes back into the team and starts putting in some of the performances that he has in the past. I just think for how our game's developing, I think Ramsdale is a better fit than Nick Pope at the moment. And I don't see why if because I think we're going to bring in a goalkeeper, so maybe the Tino, being sold to Manchester City and us getting some monetary value plus Trafford might be a goer. But I would prefer to keep Ramsdale as the number two if he'd be willing to do that over Nick Pope. Um, in regards to whether we're going to get rid of all three of them at right back, I mean, I think Emil Kraft's definitely going to go. I think his Newcastle days are behind him, unfortunately. Trippier, I think he sees himself. Well, actually, I mean, I can't say that, to be fair. I really don't know about Trippier. I mean, I know a lot of people thought that he was past it this season and that he's kind of lost it altogether. But the more games he plays, the stronger he seems to be getting. And like I say, against Manchester United, that was probably the best I've seen him play this season. So if he would be willing to give us another year, I mean, especially if we're losing Kraft and Livramento, unless we are bringing in two new right backs, and even then you've got to be careful, because if you think of it, we brought in three players in the summer who took a long time to hit the ground and pick up a bit of pace for the team. Some would say one of them still hasn't found any sort of form for us. So if you were going to be getting rid of all three right backs, you've got to have at least two right backs coming in. And if you're bringing in two new players, with how long we've seen that it takes some players to gel into our squad, or to kind of mold into the Eddie Howe type of play style for us, I mean, would that not be too risky to leave ourselves with only the option of two brand new right backs, or promoting Leo Shahar, which it doesn't look. I don't think he's had enough minutes this season to suggest that that's the plan for next season, or switching Lewis Miley to a full time right back, which I don't think that's going to be the plan either. So it is going to come down to recruitment, but I think it'll be way too risky to get rid of all three of them.
And I do think, by the way, that Leo Shahar will get more opportunities next year.
Oh, I think you'll get more opportunities. I don't think he's going to be.
So I think
given the number
two would
shirt,
be
though.
enough with him as the backup.
Yeah, but you still need two right backs, so, and that's two
Yeah,
new players
absolutely.
to come into that
If we
position.
lose all three, we definitely need two right backs.
If I'm perfectly honest, I don't think we've got a choice about two of them going. I think Trips and Kraft, neither of them are going to be offered new contracts. The Trips' legs are beginning to go, and the last thing you want is him doing another final season and let him down, which I think that's what we'll be setting them up to do. Kraft's been a great servant for the club, but I mean, he's knackered now. He'll move on and probably go away abroad and play his days out at a different club. And if a club comes in for Tino and it's Man City, and has been said, I think Goat said around the panel, they offer him massive wages, will struggle to keep him as well. So what you hope now at this point is that the likes of Wilson and his coach and staff, Nicholson and Andy Howe, are out there looking for potentially two right backs. You have to be planning at this point that we are going to go into this
left back, by the way.
I was going to say, and a left back, and definitely a centre back as well. So we need to cover quite a lot in defence this summer.
It's a massive rebuild this summer.
Does Shah's contract run out this summer?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry, I just wondering. Yeah, probably. Is he going to be renewed, or are we going to replace? Who knows? Anyway,
renewed, absolutely renewed. Obviously.
In regards to this is part of the reason, and Wynne agreed with us, and I think Tina did as well, and I think Peter, you made the point.
I don't agree with you.
I don't know what you thought at the time, but why the hell didn't we sign a defender in January? We knew we were going to get to this point where we needed defenders anyway in the summer. Why didn't we help Eddie out a little bit for this season as well, and bring at least one defender in January in that transfer window? What were your thoughts on why we didn't do that?
It was a proper strange one, wasn't it? Like when you looked at also other clubs like Tottenham, Bournemouth, I think Brighton, Villa, they actually all brought in defenders, and I think two of the signings from each of those clubs cost $1 million. I think another signing was 10 million, 19-year-old from Brazil for I think Tottenham. But yeah, so it was mind boggling really that we didn't strengthen that area, but just for like damage control, if nothing else, given the fact that we are so light in defence and got players out, we can't really rotate. So yeah, I mean, hopefully it won't come back to sort of bite us. And I think looking at left back, my feeling is that ideally they would have recalled Matt Target, but I feel like probably what's happened there is Matt Target has said to them he doesn't want to come back because he's playing first team football. He's probably enjoying his time at Borough, and they've thought, well, do we really want an unhappy player in the squad that could undermine the sort of team spirit? He might not, his headspace might not be right if he does come back. So, but that's ended up being a bit of a strange, I think, decision in the end. The fact that we loaned him out to begin with, obviously in hindsight, you look back and I think he could have been someone who was just competent at least to come in now and again, because Lewis
Yeah.
Hall has had his injury problems. So yeah, but we've got to be more proactive, and obviously it goes without saying, like in this summer, the way it went in January, I think we're all scratching our heads with that. So hopefully they'll kind of make up for it this summer and act quickly as well, early doors,
100%.
Any
What's your
thoughts,
thoughts on
Paul?
that? Goat? Yeah.
I think personally, probably we weren't getting good value for money in December. I mean, in January. So again, it's let's keep our powder dry. Some players will be returning. We hope Shah returns at some point in April. That's why we haven't gone down signing any centre back route. It's it's suicide, but you just hope that obviously their probably strategy is we get better value for money in the summer. So
And
we've made
also
this.
in the summer, of course, we've got the World Cup, so you never know who's going to emerge from that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think probably where we're shopping, it's going to be in the market where you can get good value for money, not established names. So you'd imagine probably the established names are the ones that maybe will be less obtainable, more expensive, whereas the young gems that we're trying to find hopefully won't be affected by the World Cup and their value will be relatively reasonable. But yeah, I think this summer is the true test of we've got everything in place. We've got Ross Wilson in place. We've got CEO in place. So now there's no more excuses. So it's really time for
Wouldn't
them
it be
to
just
start
wouldn't it
looking.
be just typical Newcastle, got to have CAO in place,
Yeah,
DOF in place,
yeah.
and the sack the manager.
Well, yeah. Well, House says, yeah. I think I'm going to step away. I'm
Yeah,
exhausted. I've got
exactly.
nothing left. Kevin
One
Keeper
all.
stuff. So yeah, yeah. So hopefully now this is a time. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it is a big squad overhaul. I'm excited to see what happens, but a lot of this will be determined by what happens in the league, where we finish, how well we do in the Champions League. Yeah, all it depends on is basically what happens in May, how far we win FA Cup, where we finish in the league, and where we successful in the Champions League. Hopefully we win it. That'd be nice.
Exactly.
Did you have any other thoughts on that, Tina, before we'll move on?
I mean, no, not massively. I mean, I think we've kind of touched on the fact that recruitment does need to be better. We still. I don't think anybody's had an explanation like you mentioned. I actually agreed. I do concede. I did agree with you with that, with the fact that we didn't reach out, and I think Paul's probably said it right, that we just weren't getting value for money for what we were looking for. But with everything that we've got in place now, you would have to think, especially with the fact that we're definitely going to lose at least two right backs this season. It would look like. The back line, as you have mentioned, looking a bit aged. Not Fabian, give him another year at least. But like Dan Burns not getting any younger. And Botman's got a bit of an injury proneness to himself. So you would think now that there are people whose specific jobs are to make sure that we've got players shortlisted to make sure that we've got players scouted, surely we've already started looking for players for the summer. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way that we're going at this and then halfway through the summer we'll have an Eddie Howe come out and say, well, we've not really got the money for what we're looking for, or the right price isn't there. And then you got Hodgkinson coming out at the end of summer and being like, I don't know why Eddie didn't sign anybody. We've got loads of money, like. So we cannot possibly end up in a situation where we lose three right backs. We've got 2 agent centre backs, and we've got 1 left back, and we again go through an entire transfer window without signing anybody.
I
The
think as
World
well
Cup.
what we
Go on, boy.
what we need to do this transfer window as well, and maybe is do some business early on. If we know we need we know we need these defenders, don't not give Eddie the chance to work with them, or at least know the lads during the summer who are coming in. Let's get them in, and and give Eddie the summer with them. And as you say, a lot of them might end up at the World Cup, but we'll work around that as a club. We're sort of, but at least the Newcastle United players and Eddie can be having an influence on their career even from that point. Because we don't want another summer like last summer where we're trying to sign as many players as we can in the last few minutes. And the other thing we need to learn this window, in my view, is that you can sign more than one player at a time. If we've got now the recruitment team in place, you can go in and do 3-4 signings at a time. There's nothing now to stop with doing that either. Anyway, moving
Especially when
on.
you've got a fax machine like Wins as well.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on, but unless
I
anybody
think
else,
it's Paul's, to be fair.
moving on, unless there's anybody else got anything to say on that point, I've got a bit of a question for you, if that's all right.
Yeah, fair away.
Yep. So, is Tonali's great performances in the last few weeks, and I think all on the panel would probably agree that his performances have picked up because of Bruno's absence. It seems everything now goes through Tonali, and he's been outstanding, with Lee Ryder even calling him the future captain. And so, Win, we'll start with you. Do you think Tonali's improved because Bruno's gone, and is he a potential captain for her?
Well, the question should be asked, is Tonali playing any better now than what he was playing last season? And I don't think the answer to that is a massive resounding yes. He's definitely playing better than he was earlier on in the season. But again, why was that? Was it because his wife was getting homesick, because he'd had his head turned, because he'd been asked the questions, because he's just had a baby? Could that have had anything to do with it? Or is it specifically tied to the fact that Bruno's hasn't been there, so he's had to step up to the plate anyway? I think it could be a bit of both. I think, he definitely has stepped up. But in terms of replacing Bruno as the creative spark in midfield, he hasn't done that. His performances have been fantastic of late. Getting all over the pitch, getting the foot in, doing all the stuff. But he still hasn't got that forward pass that Bruno's got. For me, that's my opinion.
Peter, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think it's
The
down
thing-
to Bruno being away?
I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think it's all down to that. I think it's probably playing a part. To be fair, I think with Bruno and Tonali, right, they are very similar, aren't they? They want to do the same kind of things. They both want to get on the ball and drive forwards, look for that pass, play nice football. And sometimes with Tonali, I feel like he does the hard work, and then like last night, there was a couple of examples where he does the hard work and then he'll kind of give it away, and like the simple pass he gets wrong. But I'm being a bit harsh there because I know he was excellent last night, Tonali. I'm just being like hypercritical, but just to kind of make a point of I think sometimes where in general where he's let himself down this season, Tonali. But yeah, he's picked up lately, and I have thought that before. I've thought them two together. I've questioned that myself. Can they play together and still show their best self, their best version, when they both kind of want to do the same thing? And I think it's a bit of a tricky one. I think in an ideal scenario, this for me, right? I think what might solve it is if they're playing together and it's three. Me personally, I just think that you need someone who's going to be the anchor. So that third centre mid, you would need a Tiote. Check Tiote to sit in there. And don't get me wrong, the game is fluid, players will swap now and again, but in general, just for most of the match, you would like to see then Tonali and Bruno have that license to link up without worrying as much as maybe what they need to do currently for the kind of defensive duties with that insurance policy behind them. Whereas at the minute, it's very kind of kamikaze up and down, and players taking turns to kind of they're all bombing forward at the same time. Not never mind taking turns, but yeah, I just wonder if that plays a part in terms of the balance with them two, Bruno and Tonali, where they can't quite strike that balance. And I sometimes even think with Tonali, there's times when he's playing with Bruno, and it may well be worth saying to Tonali, look, you need to sit. And Bruno is more of the kind of advanced player. And I know you're sacrificing a bit there with Tonali, but sometimes you just got to make that decision for the benefit of the team and for the structure. Where instead of trying to get the best out of both players, but then suddenly the structure might go to pot a little bit because we're too open. So maybe there's a bit of that, but when they play together. But recently, certainly Tonali, he's been brilliant. I think last night he was class. So yeah, bring it on for the next match. Hopefully he can keep it up.
And Paul, what's your thoughts on the Bruno and Tonali debates?
I think we're probably seeing a better, more freer version of Tonali in Bruno's absence. I think there's probably a subconscious bias amongst the team or preference to get the ball to Bruno for Bruno to create, whereas now Bruno's not in the team. You've got Tonali taking on more shots from the edge of the box and stuff like that. But I mean, in general, yeah, Tonali's form has picked up in Bruno's absence, which is really positive to see. I think possibly a few seasons back, it felt a little bit like Tonali was in Bruno's shadow, but yeah, I think Tonali's come out of his shell a little bit more, and yeah, is feeling a little bit more comfortable in the team, expressing himself more. So yeah, that's kind of really it.
Tina, you got any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I actually disagree with everybody. I think, I mean, don't get me wrong, Tonali has definitely been playing since Bruno's absence than he was earlier in this season. Last season, I think the two of them played fantastically together. I think there is a case of finding the balance. And I mean, I was saying earlier this season that what I thought we needed was to try either Fabian Schär or Malik Chow as the holding midfielder, so that we've got as was mentioned a moment ago, like a Czech Tiote type of player, somebody who can sit and let Bruno just be the attacking one of the centre midfielders, like the deco, if you like, and then have Tonali take over that kind of box to box role that because he kind of does that, doesn't he? Like he's I think the issue with Bruno and Tonali in the same team together is figuring out which one of them is better at being the holding player and which one's better at being the more advanced player, because Tonali's definitely got the better defensive calmness, but both of them are really good at chasing down midfielders who have got beyond our midfield line and then winning the ball back. And then Bruno's got that little bit of spice about him. And also Bruno's got that kind of likes to sit in the pocket and come back and take the ball from the defence. He likes to be in control of the game. So when you've got kind of, because you don't want them to both be back at the same time, you don't want them to be both forward at the same time, unless you've got another holding defensive minded midfielder. So I could definitely see them working if they were both playing as more the kind of like the number 8 role and have a central defensive midfielder behind them. Or if we're gonna play like the Joelin and Tonali and Bruno center 3, then it's just a case of getting that balance right. I mean, like I say, last season, the season the whole time that they played together before this season, where this started to become an issue that we picked up on. Before that, nobody had said anything about whether Tonali and Bruno could play in the same team because they were part of the three. So there were two of the three that people were saying was the best centre midfield in the Premier League at the start of the year, and I'll never let that point go down. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. The only thing is that part of your question was about it being said that Tonali could be a captain. On that, I agree 100%. I think that is something that's changed about him while Bruno's not been available. Is
So
that
just
he's
on that, Tina, then can I ask the whole panel, stick or twist then? Do you stick with Bruno as captain, or would you put Tonali as captain? Well, I'll let you go first, Tina, because I interrupted you.
Because I was in the middle of a sentence. Thank you, Foggy. No, so like, club captain last season was the Cells. He's left. Club captain became Kieran Trippier, who then gave the captain's armband up to give it to Bruno. So we're talking about, would you stick or twist with Bruno as captain, or would you give it to Tonali? Tonali can be vice captain, and Bruno can be the captain. You can never have too many leaders on a pitch. Who wears that armband? That's just who is going to be involved more with the referee. And in regards to that, maybe Tonali would be the better one for that because he's less hot-headed. And I saw yesterday, he's Don Tonali, and he goes up. If he asks for a penalty, you give us a penalty. There's no question about it. But no, I think you can have them both as leadership figures and still have Bruno as the captain, just because he loves Newcastle more than anybody from outside of the city ever has.
So I think that was a very long-winded answer to say stick. Win.
My apologies. I'll be quiet.
Stick all day long. Bruno.
I was kidding, Tina.
Bruno has been magnificent. Everybody, when he first got the armband, everybody was questioning, the fact that he's given this to the crowd doesn't make him a good captain and all that. I just think he's been immense. He's carried us single-handed through games, and the idea of him being at the club and not being captain is an anathema to me. There you go.
Oh, that's a word for us to Google after the show.
There you go. Anathema.
Again, another long-winded answer. But Peter, yours?
I daren't say anything now, like Boggy.
No, go for it, mate. I'm just kidding them on.
No, honestly, I agree. I think, for me, Bruno, we'll see, how it goes for this season. We've still got quite a few games to play. So, Tonali, see how he goes from now to the end of the season. Hopefully keep up this form, keep up that drive that he brings to the team. In terms of captaincy, that's quite a big kind of step from coming back in form, showing your best self, to then suddenly jumping to being the captain as well. I think that's a bit early to kind of think about, really. I think, for me, Bruno still warrants that captaincy. Basically, that intensity that he brings is still unparalleled, I think. So I think Tonali's more of a cool customer, and he brings that drive, but Bruno has a bit more intensity. I think he kind of leads by example a bit more, in terms of just being an inspiration. I mean, Tonali's not far off. I think when Tonali is on form, he's a class act, and
leads by example, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I think with Bruno, there was times when I was getting a bit frustrated when he was kind of maybe playing to the crowd a bit too much, but he also leads by example with how he plays in terms of the intensity on the ball, threading those passes through, winning the ball back, and obviously that connection with the crowd does play a part as well. So, I think Bruno for now is still the best bet.
And scoring goals now, by the way. And incidentally, making no bones ever about where he wants to play. Whereas we had the bit of the story going around with Tonali that he couldn't comment on where he would be in 5 years' time or whatever.
Whoa! That's unfair. He answered a question quite honestly. You can't blame him for that.
And I praised him for doing so.
Coming to you. What's your thoughts on captain, stick or twist?
Bruno all day long. I think when you mentioned a very valid point that I was going to touch on. I think with Bruno, when he first became captain, I was still very much Trippier should be captain. But yeah, Bruno has grown into the role, leads by examples, delivers on the pitch. He's vocal, he's connected with the fans, he's scoring goals, and he's every year's, it's season on season now, you're seeing him develop into captain material and what we all, I would imagine, want our captain to be. In terms of Tonali, it's good form, but unless he commits his future to us, possibly we need to get past the summer. And he commits his future to us long term, gets the control of his agent to stop saying stuff about linking him to other clubs, and shows real commitment, then I don't think it's really time for him to step into a leadership role. Also, we've seen Tonali deliver a captain-like performance whilst playing for Milan. I think their captain at the time was a right back called Calabria or something like that. But from time to time, Tonali stood in as vice. So I've seen Tonali really kind of replicate kind of the stuff that Bruno does for us now. And I've not quite yet seen it to that level for Newcastle. So I think it needs a little bit more time, but it's a conversation we can certainly revisit towards the back end of maybe 2026.
I'll just quickly say as well, right? I think Tonali as vice captain is a good shout because I really love his attitude recently has came across brilliant in terms of that interview he gave after the Champions League when we won, but he was still on our case in terms of like that wasn't good enough. And then you look at him with Joe Linton the other night, he's pulling Joe Linton back from the ref because you can see he's getting himself in trouble. So he's shown really good leadership recently. So I can kind of see where people are coming from. Maybe vice captain, I think, is a good shout for next season.
Ahead of Dan Burn?
Fair point, yeah.
Dan Burn won't be in the team, so that's a mute point. Anyway, I'm going to move on to the last question because we're running out.
I'm the biggest Dan Burn fan in the world, bar none. But
he's a colossus.
Yeah, he is. But we've got to accept the fact that next season he'll probably not be playing as often as he is this season.
We're running short on time, guys. So anyway, I want to ask is one last question before we go. The one thing I do want to say before we go is I know you've been going through a bit of a bad time lately, and I've seen a couple of your chats a couple of your chats. I just hope things are getting a little bit better, mate, and it is getting better for you. Anyway, moving on to the Man City game again. I just want your final thoughts. What's the score going to be, and how many we're going to beat them by, and who's going to be our goal scorers? Win?
2-1 or 2.
And goal scorers?
If I was picking goal scorers, let's go with Tequila again and Anthony Gordon again.
Peter?
I'll say 3-1 to the Toon. I do think we'll win this one. And by the way, Tina, I did also say we'll beat Man United last night, just to put that out there. But
so did I.
So yeah, I think 3-1. I'll go Tonali. I know you got to push for time. Tonali, Gordon. Yeah, I think Gordon will get 1. Let's say Gordon will get 2, and Tonali will get 1. Yeah,
perfect. Paul?
Third time lucky. I'm also going to go for a win. Ciao. Hat-trick. No. Ciao double.
Ciao.
Wow.
2 set piece.
2 corners. Job done.
Tina, you're probably going to list
2-0.
2-0. Excellent. And Tina, you're probably going to list off about a 7-1 win with about 8 players scoring. So who we're going for?
I'll just go for 2-0 with Tonali and Chow.
Only 2-0? Oh, come on, no, you've got to go for a Tina score. We can't have a 2-0 from you.
We've only got 2.5 minutes.
I'll get told off. I'll get told off. Go on, you give us your proper score. What do you really think?
Okay, 5-2. We're gonna get goals from Tonali, Hall, Chow, Gordon, and then a second for Tonali.
Excellent.
So
that was 6.
I think
no.
I think Barnes. I think Barnes will get one. I'm going to say instead of Gordon getting a double, I think it'll be Barnes, Gordon.
That was 5. I did it right that time.
You said another one.
Anyway,
another one.
Just before we do go, a quick fact for you. When was the last time we've got a second left, so you'll have to be quick. First one to shout out the answer. When was the last time we had a striker score in the Premier League before Osula the other night? Last night?
Against Chelsea, Walter.
By Ballamara.
Nope.
Striker.
Nope. Yep. It was Wisser against Burnley on the 30th of December.
Seems a long
Anyway,
time ago.
it was. That was the point I was making. Anyway, thank you. Look it up, Win. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Have a pleasant rest of the night for yourselves. And thank you very much to the panel. And thank you very much for everyone who put super chats into. So we will see you next time, guys. Thank you.
Well, the lads.
We're the lads.
We're the lads.